What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? What's going on? We are live once again. I see people in the chat room. Um, yeah, and I'm looking at somebody fanning the flames of some drama that was going on that I just barely caught wind of. But we're gonna be getting into this thing. We obviously joined by hood servers that you can see on the screen. We're gonna be talking about well, you see the title. Do black people really want gun control? And there's a whole situation going on where a trans person, as I understand it, we're going to be getting more details of that from Hood Conservative, engaged, orchestrated a mass shooting, and as usual, the black reaction to things on a political level, the waters get muddied because that's how they kind of placed us. And then some black people just go with it. But we're going to be breaking it down. To a molecule. So let's go ahead, get ready to roll the intro. Strap on in. Let's get ready to go. Let's get it.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
All right, what's up? What's going on? Shout out to the early bird squad, those who make it in bright and early before we even get things started. Do appreciate each and every one of you. Appreciate each and every one of you. LB Crypto in the building. Shout out to you. He says, let's go. Great show. Let me make that a little bigger. He says, let's go. Great show, without a mention of Pearly Thang. We just mentioned her. But I mentioned the Pearly Thing. It's time to get back to regular programming. We'll see how that works. But shout out to you. Do appreciate you coming on through. He says, hold on, let me tweak a thing or two. So I can more easily read those. He says, on the subject, if you don't own a gun, get one. Absolutely. I approve that message. I cannot see. He's Ad Vatan Eternam. Okay, Bernard, bro, we need a breakdown. Of Anton Daniels and Yanni. I just found out about that. So
you find out one of your listeners speak Latin. I think that's a Latin phrase. I don't know what it means, but I'm pretty sure that's ad vitam aeternum. It's Latin for something. I got to look that up now.
Yeah. I thought my vision was messing up, but I made it bigger and I realized it was in a different language. He said it was a big mess. Anton owned Red Pill podcast for years, and he get red pilled by ex stripper. All right, a lot of ex strippers on the internet. It's weird. The Obsidian Alley stream yesterday was so good. I watched some of it this morning. Actually, it was yeah, it was it was okay. Yeah, all right. Just that title, man. Yeah, Obsidian be yeah, Obsidian be being Obsidian. That's all I can say. Anton Daniels was abusing 4K. Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, we ain't gonna talk about that. We're gonna move on past that. If it's a possibility, I may cover it. But I'm actually one of the people who don't like. There's a percentage of black men who, for whatever reason, if a black man gets in a conversation or an argument or a shouting match, he makes the mistake of going on the platform of a woman, and she's one of those ones that just and she just basically just hurling out a bunch of insults. And there's some black men in this space, some who even still wear the title of Black Manosphere, who get more enjoyment out of that than the sisterhood. So I'm not one of those. So if he was a bad showing and all that happened is she just cussed him out and he looked bad, then yeah, I get no joy out of that. I get no joy out of just covering that, just to basically join the sisterhood and seal clap because the black man got cussed out by a black woman. It's kind of weak. And but if it was something interesting that could be drawn out of that, some interesting conversation points and points that can be made, because I do understand that she supposedly was trying to embolden black women to not go on the Lapeef network. Now that's an interesting concept, because that same thing happened with Kevin Samuels, where they were trying to basically get women on code to not go on Kevin Samuels' show. Because the theory is, if the women don't go on, he can't have a show. If the women don't go on the Lapeef Let's Talk show, they can't have a Lapeef Let's Talk show. If the women don't go on Fresh and Fit show, then they can't have a show. So women, let's just stay off of these men's shows. That's the theory. So that may be something worth talking about. That may be something. It may be some conversation and some topics and some debate and some discussion and dialogue that could be had from that. But I'm not exactly thrilled. But I haven't seen it. So we shall see. But either way it go. Let's drop the music. RM, try starring. Let's see if the problem is solved. Try starring any comment. I just want to see if it pops up for me, if I can see whatever ones you star. Just star any comment. And want to see if it pops up in the back for me. And okay. All right, look like, yeah. StreamYard got to fix that. StreamYard do got to fix that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. And oh shit! Actually, Hood Servative, it looked like he confirmed what you said. Yes, it's Latin. Equals for forever in English. All right, cool. But all right, let's get into this thing. What we talking about today? The mass shooting situation. I'll let you set it up, because I'll be kind of behind on some of these things. So I'll let you set it up. Go ahead. What's going on? What are we talking about today?
Yeah, this is a story that's been going on for about a week or so now. I don't remember exactly when this happened, but several days ago, there was a mass shooting event in a town somewhere in Tennessee, and it was done by a female to male transgender. And forgive me, I don't have the person's name at hand, and it's almost irrelevant because they don't even want to talk about the person who actually did this. But a female to male transgender went into a school, a Christian school, by the way. It was like a Christian academy, and shot a couple of the kids. And also, I think there was a black guy who was on staff. He was maybe a custodian or something. I don't know what his role was, but I know I see a black man's face when I look at the pictures of the victims. And so this person went in there and committed this mass shooting. And on the one hand, there's very much an element of, let's say, hate crime. When this issue was raised at the Biden White House press briefing. The press secretary, that black lady, Karen Jean Pierre, someone asked her specifically, does the Biden administration think this is a hate crime? And she said, that's not for us to determine. And I think that's kind of the issue at hand. This seems to be a hate crime committed against Christians by a trans person. However, the Democrats, and especially the Democrats on the ground in Tennessee, what they're doing is turning this into a gun rights issue and saying that basically, there are too many guns, and if there were less guns, this would happen less. And so that's kind of the framing battle that's being waged on the left versus right. The right is like, okay, you guys obviously hate people on the right, Christians specifically, and people on the left are willing to murder people on the right. And the left is saying, well, there's just too many guns out here. If there weren't so many guns, people wouldn't be dying. And now there's this huge gun rights battle going on in Tennessee, in the state capitol, where the advocates, the Democrats on the left who are advocating for gun control in response to this trans person committing a mass shooting against a Christian school, they are now saying that the advocates, they stormed the state capitol. There was like an insurrection, essentially, the same thing that happened in DC, the January 6th event. There was a bunch of leftists storming the state capitol during actual a state session. So 3 of the elected state Democrat officials led this charge, and while the state body of Tennessee was having its governmental session, they stormed into the building with their bullhorns, and they got all up in like the well, I guess, right in the official place of business, essentially. You kind of have to see the video to understand these words, but these people interrupted state government business, led by 3 sitting elected Democrat officials. There was 2 young black men and an older white woman. And after that event and that little insurrection, and they came up with bullhorns and everything, those 3 people were put up for dismissal. The 2 black guys got essentially fired from state government, and the one white woman, she survived the vote, essentially. I think it was by 1 vote. It was a close call. But so now the images of the 3 people who led it, the 2 black guys got fired and the white lady is still there. And so now it's a racial issue.
I got very confused about the storming the Capitol part at the end.
Yeah.
Like, how was that connected to the original story of a trans person shooting a Christian church?
Well, what I was saying,
which is a hate crime, by the way. That I mean, if a trans person would have just shot a random crowd at Walmart, that would not have been considered a hate crime of just random victims. But it's clearly we understand that the LGBTQ community and their relationship with religion in the Christian church and in all forms of dogma that says that they're an abomination. We get it. So they have their issues with them, and one of them does a mass shooting, and the target is the Christian church. That's literally enacting violence against somebody because of their religious beliefs. So it's no other way around it. So it is interesting that the left is neglecting to call that a hate crime, and they're trying to spin it around to what are they trying to spin it around to? They're saying that were they trying to make, you said, it's like you said, they were just trying to make a gun control argument out of it instead of instead of calling it a hate crime. I don't know, like what was the point that was just you were making there?
Well, that's exactly what's going on. They're trying to turn it into a gun rights issue as opposed to, dealing with the obvious hate crime that just happened here. And so you get these, basically these, and it's funny because the one guy with the afro, somebody called him Martin Luther nerd. It's like you got these guys cosplaying like civil rights leaders doing this.
I couldn't wait till we got to that part, man. That dude that was in there clearly doing an average at best Martin Luther King impression. That shit was funny. I've never seen nobody just unapologetically do an impression of like clearly Like clearly he was trying to impersonate Martin Luther King. It was cosplay. It was he was being Martin Luther King for Halloween. It's like that's what that was. And he's sitting there trying to give a serious speech, man. We gotta get to that part. That
Now
shit
the
was
civil rights movement is like a parody of itself right now, and it's like everybody is desperate to be in the moment of like 1960 whatever, and it's just not working.
yeah. Yeah. That's wild. So anyway, so how do we get from the trans person shooting up a Christian church to like, okay, who stormed the Capitol?
A bunch of leftist activists, and frankly, they used a lot of kids at the same time. So a bunch of kids in Tennessee were like given the day off of school so they could all go and protest, and they stormed the Tennessee state capitol and rushed inside the build. I don't know what it's called, where the Democrats and the Republicans go to do their office meeting or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
where they vote. The floor. Think of it like the House floor.
Yeah. That's how I took it. Yeah. Took it as they stormed. So they stormed the House floor, and in protest of them, I guess they were congregating to talk about this issue. And then a bunch of I guess you said the trans activists stormed the Capitol, stormed the floor to try to just disrupt the meeting. That's basically what happened there. Yeah, you keep muting up in between talking. I don't got no background or feedback from you, so I know you don't got to be on and off of the mute button like that. Mic check on Hood Conservative. Mic check
Sorry
1 2.
about that. No, I had to take care of something. No, I'm sorry. Can you ask me that question again?
Yeah, so no, as I understood it, you're saying basically like some trans activists basically just stormed in there to try to disrupt the conversation, the meeting when they were congregating about the whole little situation that happened. They basically just wanted to disrupt it, in other words.
Well, yeah, they went in there to make it to totally alter the narrative. Essentially, like it's obvious to anybody who just watches and sees the raw facts of it. Like, okay, this trans person shot up a Christian school. I think I know what's going on here. And now they're trying to make it a gun rights issue, and now it's becoming a black issue because the two black guys got fired, which is kind of funny, by the way. But there is a kind of
what did black guys get fired for?
Well, the two black guys, the Martin Luther nerd and the other guy, I haven't really thought of a good name for him. He's like Al B. Shore or something. He's a weird looking guy. Somebody called him a Mayan. He looked like one of the dudes that invaded Atlantis in the Wakanda. I mean, one of the dudes that invaded Wakanda or whatever. The nigga from Mexican Atlantis. But he it was Martin Luther nerd and the Mexican Atlantis guy. They got fired and the white woman didn't. And so now because of that, that's one of the clips I sent you was people trying to make this a black issue. And so when the guys are speaking and they're doing their individual press about it, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is like 1960 all over again. If I didn't know I was in 2023, I would think we were back in the civil rights era. And it's like, nigga, shut up.
All right. So I'll let you be in charge because like the clips you sent me, we
yeah, give me a
some
sec.
of them didn't. Yeah. Just so start pulling up the clips. But shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. Appreciate each and every one of you in here. Appreciate each and every one of you in here. See Omega Dreads down in the building. Somebody is saying that I don't know if you're talking about me because I admitted at the gate I didn't know as much about this story, but he's saying you need to hold on, wait, that's hidden. Let's show it and show it. So you need to read the fucking news and get the facts. Are you saying Hood Conservative don't got the facts? I think he was pretty thorough on the facts. I was the one with the questions. I was the one with the questions. So I don't know which one specifically you were talking, which of us specifically you were talking about there.
I mean, I got the broad strokes. I don't have everyone's names because, people be having weird names and it's hard to remember everybody's new name every single day sometimes. But the broad strokes are pretty much consistent. I'm telling you what's going on here.
Yeah. While you pull those up, while you get the video clips ready to roll. And Kamala Harris gave a passionate speech in one of the clips you gave me. That was interesting too. It's like she was in character as well. But Chuck Woo Igwe, hopefully I said the name right, said gun violence and gun control will disproportionately impact black people. Gun violence and gun control will disproportionately impact black people. I'm not so sure about that. See, here's the thing with and I didn't know all the details about this story, so I didn't even know exactly where we was 100% going with this. Sometimes we prepare, sometimes we wing it. So I didn't even know 100% where we was going with this, but just the general thing with gun control and or gun laws and all of that it does for black people. Okay, the broad stroke of it. Okay, there's a lot of a lot of people in the black community. Okay, it's two parts. On one side, there's good family men who just has a gun in his house for protection. I don't walk around strapped. I don't plan to ever. You hope to never use it. I don't have enemies out there, but I do. There's a gun in my house. There's a gun in my house, just in case I need to, protect my house. That's it. That's it. Then there's for lack of a better way to describe it, there's niggas. You know, there's niggas who out there with guns and who fit in the category of, when I say niggas, I'm talking about people with certain negative behaviors. I'm talking about individuals with records who can't legally own a gun. They out and when they say that the criminals are going to get their hands on the guns regardless of the laws, those are the people they're talking about. Somebody who wants to do a mass shooting, they're going to get their hands on the guns regardless. So, like, they could tighten up and toughen up the gun laws. There's a percentage of people, particularly black men, the data on people who got, the percentage of black men that got records and then they're affected, their ability to own a gun legally is affected. Is like there's a percentage of them that's just going to just make their peace with the fact that if they want to carry a gun for protection, they're going to illegally carry it. And in that sense, the gun laws don't matter as much. The gun laws don't matter as much when you just average that into the equation. That if somebody is a criminal and they're hell bent on carrying a gun, they don't give a damn about breaking the law. So when you say that that the laws are going to be, gun violence and gun control will disproportionately affect black people, I do wonder. Exactly. And I do want to know exactly precisely what you mean by that and how specifically. Now, see, Hood Servant, if you just drop something in the back, see, you just drop something in the back and you got something down low. And
They're
this,
both the same thing. So if you want to just pull up my screen, I got it already ready to go.
okay. You ain't got Plantation Wireless or nothing over there, do you? Okay. Hopefully.
I'm always on Plantation
Well,
Wireless, but some days it
hopefully it
doesn't.
ain't choppy. Hopefully it ain't. If it's choppy, I'll just share my screen. But go ahead and roll it. Now this look like I could just look at the imagery here and tell that like that's just like the profile of when niggas about to complain. And see, niggas got multiple definitions because I said niggas to describe people who engage in criminal activity. Now I'm just using it broadly to describe black people. So I need to make up my mind how I'm going to use the word nigga going forward. But anyway, this is the look, the image, the optics. Like, I don't like, if I didn't know what happened, if I just had to look at this image and just say, what do I think happened? Something racially bad happened and they're about to complain about a bad racial incident. Like, you could just look at that and tell that is a
Honestly, I was looking at that, and you know what I was thinking? Whatever church they go to serves the best chicken dinners. I could tell y'all church serves like the most delicious chicken dinners in the whole county. Y'all just, it's something about that just reminded me of eating chicken after church. Something about these people reminded me of that shit. I don't know what it was.
yeah, I can see that after church chicken be good. Yeah, the music and the food, the black church, that be about the best thing you get out of it, but you got to sit through 8 hours of church to get to the. Okay, anyway, all right, carry on. Let's go ahead and roll the tape, or I don't know if you want to say anything to set it up.
The world saw what happened yesterday. Two young African American brothers unfairly prosecuted, but they handled themselves like true champions. It's a horrific indictment on the Tennessee GOP, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
It looked like a Jim Crow era trial. Two black men fighting for their careers, fighting for their reputations. It was a shame to see some of the smirks that some of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle had as They saw our tears.
I'm still confused.
It is confusing. I think it's intentionally confusing, actually. I think they're confusing us on purpose. That's what I think is going on here.
Well, no, what I'm confused about in my question is, okay, they're talking about 2 black people got fired. What did they get fired for? You keep muting yourself. Yeah.
Well, because I got stuff going on in the house.
Oh, my
too.
bad.
I'm muting myself just to keep the show pure. But well, these guys got fired technically because they broke house rules. Now, without reading the house rules, I can tell you it's something more along the lines of conduct unbecoming or something like that. Because I think I had the footage somewhere. I'm gonna have to find it again. But they basically interrupted the house business, like they were conducting actual government business, and these people came in with like an angry mob of just angry leftist folks or whatever with bullhorns. The 3 people in question, the 2 black guys and the 1 white lady, they all came in with their bullhorns, giving their speeches, totally disrupted the whole.
But these were just citizens and civilians who came in to have their voices heard, right?
No, 1, you can't do that as a citizen, and then 2, as an elected official, that's a fireable offense, and you don't just get fired.
Wait, hold on. Were these elected officials who showed the hell out, or these citizens just barged in there?
The 3 elected officials are charged with leading the charge. So all these citizens came up, and those 3 are at the head of the pack. And as elected officials, that is behavior that might get you fired. And technically, fired isn't the right word because they voted on their dismissal.
Okay. All right. So now I get it. Because it was confusing, but it was people that stormed in there. And then it was the people that stormed in there. They were ultimately led by the elected officials who was in there, and then elected officials got fired. And so the complaint is, the racial grievance is that the 2 black elected officials got fired, but the white elected official was somehow able to maintain or keep her job.
Yeah, and there's a story behind that, and you listen, believe what you want about it. I'm not here to tell you whether or not this particular event is racist, because it looks the way it looks, and it's very striking. This moment does kind of slap, I will tell you that. But the white lady actually apologized, and she survived her vote by 1 vote. And so it's just, I mean, if you know the details of it, it kind of changes the story a little bit, but not really.
Yeah. Okay. Well. White woman apologizing can sometimes go far or not go far at all. We know that, you're on YouTube.
But I think the difference is them niggas ain't sorry, and that's what happens when you're not sorry. Maybe sometimes it is. If you want to keep your job, you do have to sometimes put your head down and apologize. And that was a moment where they felt like they were they didn't have to do that to keep their job, and fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Okay. Now I fully get the story, and I get how the 2 are connected. It's a whirlwind of a story. I can't even lie. It's a whirlwind of a story because it started out. It started out with a mass shooting by a trans person on some Christians, and it got flipped around into some whole racial thing now. It's a weird story.
And this is one of the points I brought up to BGS the other day towards the end of our little exchange, because we were having a great conversation, and I'm really thankful for BGS coming up and us having that discussion. But one of the things that I think that even he, as somebody who kind of listen, he defends the left position. Whether or not he calls himself, whether or not he says he aligns with it is irrelevant. He is in that moment was defending the left's position. And one of the things that's uncomfortable for people who defend the left's position is this weird sexual issue, this gendered issue that's going on with Democrats, where now all of a sudden our blackness is being cached to defend this transgender event. Like, let's not forget that at the center of this whole event, a transgender person committed a mass shooting, and now somehow our blackness is being used to obscure that fact. Like, I don't want that transgender person hiding behind my blackness, right? This belongs to me. I don't want to use it that way.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem with the whole politics side of the game on the left. Everybody is thrown into one box. Everybody who's not white and not male thrown into one box, sort of with their hands out. And BGS and Dr. Tia San Johnson, they do a good job showing how the black men don't get anything when everybody who they put in that box together, and they hand out things to people in the box, and they do a good job breaking out how the black men don't get none of that stuff that's being handed out from the box is handed into that box. And I think that's where a lot of us is like, hey, let's get out of that goddamn box. How about that? let's just get out the box and and not have our hands out. It does so. But anyway, that's part of that. That's part of that whole left right divide that's happening amongst black men. That's gonna grow even more. But no, this is wild. But did you play the remainder of said clip here?
Greatest miscarriage of justice on this floor since African American members were first seated for 5 seconds of disruption before the speaker called for recess. These members were expelled. My colleagues across the aisle, they know this is wrong, yet they did it. And the world is watching Tennessee.
First, I'll just say welcome to Tennessee, where there's a pattern of racism that has permeated. The world is watching. Is this what Tennessee is?
And we all know that in this country, it's been young people that has moved us forward. It's been young people that have shaken things up.
Again, the eyes of the world are on us because we are making a spectacle of ourselves. Those rules about props and about approaching the well, that's frivolous because that happens all day, every day. There are members on the floor with guns in their backs. You're not supposed to bring guns to the floor. It's the hypocrisy.
This session has been rough for Justin. A lot of political bullying has been going on behind the scenes. This idea that he and Justin Pearson must have.
Hey man, your plantation wireless is like messing up bad now. Your plantation
is a mindset set in white supremacy. We as black folk are not on par or not peers, and we must be inferior and subservient. My colleagues forced the conversation Republicans weren't willing to have.
But I have not heard, maybe you've heard, the governor of this state, the leader of this state. I don't know if he's made any comments. He should make a statement because this has been an embarrassment for the entire Tennessee General Assembly.
All right, there it is right there. Now I was in the process of queuing up Martin Luther Nerd. I was in the process of queuing that up. It's funny that you even called him that, but
no, that didn't come from me. And yeah, please cue him up next because that guy is funny in and of himself, and this is basically what modern black politics really boils down to. He is like the essence of modern black politics, and it's a shame he got fired. Who knows how long he could have went doing this act right there. But you got to see.
He could have took that all the way to the White House. I listen. That we looking at a future president. I don't care what nobody say. This dude, no, he I don't know what his position was in the government. I don't know what he got. Like, do you know what he was? What was it?
Well, he was just like a state representative, so he probably had a couple of counties or something. He was
he could have went from there from being senator to hell, Barack just took a few small steps from being Illinois State Senate and then going there. He in a short amount of time. He went from just being very briefly a senator to boom, president. I think he only served like what four. He was only senator. He was on a senator for like 4 years. I got some facts wrong. I had to look that up. But that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that as far as just the political theater, this guy had a political future. Just for the pure, the political theater aspect of it. So yeah, we got to roll this of him doing a average at best Martin Luther King impression when speaking on this issue.
Yes, I tell you, it was a sad day on Saturday. All hope seemed to be lost. Representatives were thrown out of the state house. Democracy seemed to be at its end. Seemed like the NRA and gun lobbyists might win. But that was good news for us. I don't know how long this Saturday in the state.
Hold on, real quick.
I don't know how long this Saturday was gonna last.
Like, did a nigga just get lynched? Like, what are we talking about right now? Hold on, what just happened here? Remember, this is all because a trans person shot up a Christian school, and we out here doing the March on Washington. We out here crossing the bridge at Selma. This nigga is unbelievable.
Man, Saturday Night Live could not do this any better. Oh my goodness. It's like, okay, is this, I don't even know what this speech is about. Is this speech about because he got fired, or is it about the damn the gun laws? I don't even know what he.
I think it's because he got a dream. That's what I think this speech is about. I think it's because he got a fucking dream.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let's roll some more. I want to try to listen to the words coming out of his mouth and see if I can make some see some points that's being made without getting outside of the Martin Luther King deliberate copied cadence that he's doing. But all right.
See, might last. But we have good news, folks. We've got good news that Sunday always comes. Resurrection is a promise, and it is a prophecy. It's a prophecy that came out of the cotton fields. It's a prophecy that came out of the lynching tree. It's a prophecy that still lives in each and every one of us in order to make the state of Tennessee the place that it ought to be. And so I've still got hope because I know we are still here and we will never quit.
Out of order. Out of order.
He still got fired
We're
after
voting
all
on
of
House
that.
Resolution 63. All those in favor, vote aye when the
He still got fired.
I'm mad he got fired. I'm legit mad he got fired. I think this country needs him. And look at the comments. Expelling him made his voice louder while the entire country listened. Karma is coming for the Tennessee legislator. It's remarkable watching the Tennessee Republicans getting schooled on the Bible and Christian values. This party that holds the Bible in one hand and denigrates everything it stands for in the other hand. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I'm just trying to see if anybody in the comments is just going to acknowledge that this is a damn a parody. That he's I understand. Okay, let me just say it like this. I understand the I'm about to lose my position. I'm about to get voted out of my position. So you gave a passionate, impassioned speech about that. But it is worth pointing out that the reason he's about to lose his position because he led a disruptive rally over again a trans person shooting a Christian church, and now he's making it into it's being turned into a black issue when it was a hate crime that they tried to obscure. It was a hate crime against Christians. And so Republicans, the Christian right, for reasons that I think we understand, would take a stand against that. They would legitimately take a stand against that for reasons that we obviously understand. But it's gotten spun around to the point where it's a wild and wacky story. Tennessee GOP has expelled Justin Parsons from the state house and will elevate him to the U.S. Congress, Senate, of other high office. They are playing checkers in this game of chess. Okay, I don't fully understand that statement that's being made right there, but
that's a possibility. That's a definite possibility. The whole martyrdom thing right now, where it's like he gets to now go around campaigning on how racist these state house Republicans are, Look at how evil they are. They fired the 2 black guys, but not the white lady, right? Give me money. That's what's about to happen.
Hey, do his thing. Do his thing. All
Yep.
right, pull up the super chats. I think Mike and Vince. Well, actually, no, this chat slower today. I can find it. No biggie. Hold on, wait. Well, go ahead and click on it.
And I dropped a second video in the back chat. You should pull
All
up
right,
too. This
all right.
is one of the white Republicans actually speaking directly about this guy. I thought it would be funny to watch.
Okay, shout out to Mike and Vince Perkins. Drop 5 on it. Just says Saturday support. Absolutely, absolutely. And Carlo in the building. That and I do know that does translate to $50. I know it based off the color. So drop the $50 bomb on that. But good. Good luck, fellas. Convince black people that Democrats ain't it. Good luck, fellas. I think it means trying to convince black people that Democrats ain't it. Yeah, no, that's a definite uphill battle. That's a definite uphill battle. Carlo, let me double check, make sure. Okay, you do have a wrench. Yeah, I've been seeing your name. Dropping a lot of support. I had to double check, see if you got a wrench. But shout out to you. Do appreciate all your support. Appreciate everybody who support the stream. Appreciate everybody who support the stream. But all right, let me get this one pulled up. We're not gonna deal with your plantation wireless. Hold on, I'm not going to deal with your plantation wireless. We're going to pull it up on my end. So let me drop that down. And present screen right here. All right. Everything's on Twitter. You just live on Twitter, I see. Everything you bring be from Twitter. But all right. Okay, here we go. Now this is a white guy responding to that situation. Now, it seems like you get a lot of personal joy out of when black people have their racial moments, and when white people respond to it and kind of keep it real. Like I remember when JJ Redick called bullshit on Kendrick Perkins when he was trying to take a shit on the white guy's potentially third MVP. You kind of liked when JJ Redick checked him. It's like you like that a little bit more than you should as a black man. I just want to say that.
Well, I mean, I reject the whole as a black man element to it because there's, I get you, but I'm being funny. There's a reason to it though. There's 2 sides to it that kind of speak to me. On the one hand, I don't like the whole bullying situation where, like, I hate to see somebody bullied. It just, as an individual, I hate watching bullying happen. And so what I see is black people punching and white people not able to punch back. And so I'm like, come on, like if I was watching this as a fight, I would call you a bitch for that. Like, come on, you hitting on somebody who don't even want to hit you back. Like, you don't get points for that, right? And then on the other hand, being the person that only fights people who don't fight back makes you weak, right? We become weak by not having actual competition, not having actual pushback. It makes us the bitches. So I would rather us have a strong battle between 2 equal opponents than just one guy saying whatever the fuck he wants and the other guy like, you know what? If I say the things you say, I'm gonna lose my life. I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna get canceled. I hate to see that type of shit because it makes us corny.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't get your way, you can't come to the well, bring your friends, and throw a temper tantrum with an adolescent bullhorn. It doesn't give you the right to enrage folks that are here to watch this body conduct business and talk about things you know good and well that we've worked very hard to protect our children here in the state of Tennessee. Very hard. You know what? And what you could do, you could file a piece of legislation that maybe you'd do that instead of sitting back and criticizing folks that's worked really hard for the past decade to do so. That might be a place to start. But certainly don't start by commandeering the well while we're conducting business here in this Tennessee General Assembly. That's why you're standing there, because of that temper tantrum that day, for that yearning to have attention. That's what you wanted, but you're getting it now. So I just advise you, if you want to conduct business in this house, file a bill, be recognized, stand there and present it, and pass it. All you got to do is pass the bill.
Representative Pearson.
Watch this.
Now, you all heard that. How many of you would want to be spoken to that way?
Like, nigga, really? That's your clap back? That's your clap back, bro? That's all the fuck you got? Like, the real Martin Luther King would never, bro. Come on, man. The real Martin Luther King would have had something good to say. And you just like, he said mean things to me. Come on, bro. And this is, you know, modern civil rights, right? This is the modern movement.
Oh man, yeah. I ain't gonna lie. I expected more. I expected more from him. Was that before or after he gave that original speech? Was that before or after?
I'm not even totally sure. It came probably before he got that vote to get him fired. So I'm not sure when that speech that you were playing. I'm not sure where that clip came from though, because the timeline is kind of muddled right now for me. It's hard to keep all the stuff together.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. No, that was to what the guy was saying. I'm trying to think. You know, on one level, I'm talking about the white guy. I'm talking about the white guy here. You know, what he was saying is the normal, natural protocol of it. You know, that's kind of what they do there. They try to get bills passed and whatnot. And he was basically saying, do it the right way. Don't come in here with a damn circus show. And so I do understand. I do understand what he was generally getting at. I do understand what he was generally attempting to get at there. So yeah.
Well, here's the weird thing, and this is what I don't like about this whole gun control issue. And actually, you know what? There's a better clip I want to pull up. This is something that happened maybe a week ago. This is like right when the shooting took place. But there was a moment between an actual, like a federal moment. This was a moment between Jamal Bowman and it was a white guy. I forget his name, but Jamal Bowman is a representative from somewhere in like upstate New York or like the Bronx or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had this like a meltdown essentially on the House floor, and it was behind this very incident. And it was crazy because I actually tweeted about it. It was like my first like viral tweet ever, honestly, because I said something about, you know, you never act this way when it comes to dead kids in Chicago. Like when it's a bunch of dead black kids killing each other, you never have this type of energy and smoke. But when it comes to this, when a trans person kills a bunch of Christians in that shooting, it's like, oh my God, he had a meltdown. It was a crazy meltdown. But give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull it up. It's somewhere deep in my Twitter thread. Give me 1 moment. I'll be right back with you.
All right. The idea, the whole notion of everything, when we really looking at it, and I don't know, and I've wrestled with this as a black man. You know, I hate that term, but as a black man, I've wrestled with this. Is like, what will it truly take for, I guess, the normal incidents, the normal high rate that people get murdered in black neighborhoods, the murder rate, like what will it take for that to be viewed as the tragedy that it is? Because it's just something amazing about human psychology. It's like one thing that, like when I say it, it's about women from time to time. No matter what you do for a woman, once you get used to you doing it, then now you ain't doing shit. I say that all the time, but what that speaks to is the simple fact that humans have a tendency to get used to certain things, and it's like we've gotten used to a certain murder rate to where it has to spike up much higher than it's like, whoo, you know, if the number, you know, like they normally do it at the start of the new year, you know, thus far this year, in the first month of the year, 45 people have been killed in Chicago. That's up 33% from last year. You know, it ends up being that kind of conversation. If it's up a percentage, it ends up being that conversation. But if it drops down to, I don't know, only 13 people have been killed. Yes, that's good. That's good. And then it spiked, and it regresses to the mean, to the normal 30 people being killed. And then it's but either way, through all those fluctuations of people getting killed, when somebody get killed in an unusual way, now then it becomes a national tragedy. Now it's a tragedy. So that's the weird thing with gun violence in America, particularly Black America. If it's gun violence that we've gotten used to, it's not a big deal. And that's been part of the rebuttal and clapback to Black Lives Matter. Trying to figure out a way to make the argument is that we're losing our shit. It don't even have to be the cops. It could just be a situation go viral where a white person shoots a Black person. Like, for example, that dispute that they had where some old white man was harassing the woman parked in the handicapped spot, and her boyfriend came back and pushed him down, and then the white guy shot him. Like, that's an incident where somebody got shot. The incidents in Chicago where somebody just gets shot, where many of them were off, meaningless disputes like that. They could have been settled with a fuck you and then move on. It's like, so that those are the incidents that people get shot in. But when it's race related, it's like everybody loses their damn mind. And Mr. Barlow, no, what I just described, that wasn't a hate crime right there. What I just described, that was a dispute between some people that was white and some people that was Black, and somebody got shot. The white guy was actually wrong because the Black guy pushed him down, but didn't, come try to jump on top of him and hit him or do nothing to him. He just pushed him down and then backed up. He wasn't a threat. So the white guy did get locked up for that. Fortunately, it was all caught on camera. The white guy did get locked up for that. But the thing is, we're up in arms about that. And it's just something baked into the cake of human psychology or Black people's psychology and pathology, where we just can't we can't look at it as a state of emergency when those situations happen every day among Black people. And that goes to that tribalism that I own, that I claim, that I accept, that I have some level of tribalism in me. But that's essentially the reason why we can't get up for it. No matter how sound or logic the argument is, that hey, the cops kill 25% of the people that they kill are Black, and they kill like 1,000 people per year. So it's about 250 Black people getting killed. But then you look at the astronomical number of Black people getting killed by Black people. It's no matter how we explain it, we cannot get up for it. We can't just say, hey, let's do something to figure this shit out. Let's look at it as a state of emergency. It's like we can't get Black people in the hood to see what it is, the intellectual Black people, or just the Black people who just made enough money to not live in the hood. We can't get Black politicians, the so-called leaders, the people that represent us, the leaders that only Black people have, because I don't know who the white leaders are, but we have leaders who get in front of microphones and talk. We have leaders that get in front of microphones who talk. We can't get them to really be up in arms about that shit. Like, nobody gives a fuck. It's like, that's what it is and how it is. But Hood, you was interrupting. Go ahead.
Yeah, my conspiracy theory minded brain tells me that is probably on purpose to a certain degree. I think for raw political purposes, it serves a certain interest to keep the Black community in a state of low-level terrorism. I think when you talk about like these impoverished and dangerous inner city areas, I think it serves the political interest to have a population that is constantly under fear and feeling under threat for one reason or another. And then if you're politically adept enough, and frankly, there's an entire machine that goes back generations at this point that does this one thing. But if you're politically adept enough, you can turn that constant fear into anger at somebody who may not necessarily be responsible for it, which is racism, right? So if you take like say look at the whole policing issue, right? Black people say well, not Black people, but a lot of the Black activists will tell you that You know, the areas are over policed, and these police are out here. You know, they're the reason why black people can't get ahead, right? But the reason why there's so many police in that area is because black people are killing black people at extremely high rates. That's the only reason that you have a lot of police in one area versus another. It's the rate of violence, all right? Violent crime brings the police presence, all right? If you're doing white collar crime, if it's like property crime where you just spray paint on somebody's house or something like that, police aren't really going to post up on your block 24/7, right? But if people are getting shot on your street, you might get one of those mobile police units where they just park on your corner and put up like this antenna and shit, and they put up those those gunshot trackers where they can now determine the direction of gunfire and all that stuff, right? That happens because the people, not because the police, right? But because also for you know, a lot of reasons, and from a historical perspective, a lot of the cops are white. And so you got this image of white cops coming to police black neighborhoods. And so for the population, it's easy to say, you see those white people, look, he just arrested your cousin. Look how they fucked that boy up. And sometimes they legit do fuck people up. And now you get to take those events and hold them in front of a community that's essentially living under low-level terrorism and say, we found the bad guys. And that translates into votes a lot of the times. It translates into a lot of votes.
Yeah. E. Taylor 704 in the building says, these are some of the dudes that was winning those HBCU debates / rap spoken word competitions. Yeah, I agree. I'm assuming he's talking about the Martin Luther King impression guy. Yeah. Those people, they be on HBCUs doing spoken word.
That was the Shaclack Clack nigga? Oh shit. Now I gotta go back and check that clip. That was the Shaclack Clack nigga. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's funny. That's fucking funny, E. Taylor. No, good stuff. Good point. What else we got in here? Let's bring up the next super chat. Let's see. I think I can find it myself. Hold on, wait. There's E. Taylor. That's the one I just read. And Poindexter. Yeah, that's the one. Yep, I was just to it. But all right, yeah. Poindexter's heel turn in the building says the same people asking for gun control are the same people crying about police brutality. White supremacy and gang violence. A free country with armed citizens, I think he means, with armed citizens can potentially stop all of the above. So armed citizens can stop, armed citizens stopping police brutality, white supremacy, and gang violence. For how they define white supremacy, I don't think armed citizens can exactly stop that. Maybe. I mean, well, put it like this: it will be a day. We were approaching that day, but I think the brakes got kind of pumped on that day coming. But it was going to become a day when incidents. And I remember this happened just sort of by my house. It was like a few police cars out there, and you know, it was like 3 people out there recording the incident where somebody was basically getting arrested. I saw 3 people out there with their phones recording it. I think what's going to happen if we get on that burn the country down stuff that happened after George Floyd, it could turn into a situation where armed citizens I'm trying to think could this happen where people basically in those situations where that many of the citizens, I'm talking about black citizens, had guns and there's a police situation, would they be willing to, I mean, the ones who really talk like they bout it like that, are they willing to, you know, be at that situation with guns drawn on police if they see some shit going wrong? You know, that I think it could get to that point if the George Floyd, if some George Floyd type of reaction, don't even got to be that situation, could be not as bad, could be worse, something worse than what happened with George Floyd could happen. and you know how people reacted. They burned the country down. I think it could get to that point where people just out there strapped. Sir Tice says no. Sir Tice says no. I think we was going to, when I saw the country burning all on the news, I was thinking like, yeah, we're going to get to the point where, yeah, it's going to be war zone to the point to where cops going to just stop coming in black neighborhoods. That's what I thought was going to happen. What you think on that?
Let me tell you what just did happen during the George Floyd Summer of Love. And this is in Texas, so Texans can probably attest to this right now. SKC
and yeah, the standard RLC, he said that was the Black Panthers. Yes, that was true. I think they were listening to police feeds, and whenever they knew that there was a situation where I was getting arrested, they showed up and they were strapped and they just surveyed the situation. So yeah, I was thinking it was just going to get like that, just maybe not in an organized way, but just people who just got guns and they just gonna come out there and watch with their guns. But anyway, go ahead.
That in and of itself, I have nothing to say about. If it was just that, that's fine. That's your legal right as a citizen or whatever. So I don't really care if it was just that, like showing up armed with recording and all that. Yeah, you could do that. But what I was going to tell you is that this is what just happened in Texas, right? During the George Floyd Summer of Love, there was an event, a protest or a riot that happened in Texas, and in this protest, I'm not going to say this specific moment was a riot, but there was like, you know how the people will just take over the street and cars can't get through, and so they basically had this guy's car surrounded, and this guy was, as it turns out, he was like, I think he was ex-military. He's like an army sergeant or something like that, and he was, I think, doing Uber, and he had just dropped the passenger off, and so he's driving after dropping this passenger off, turns into this protest. Now he's stuck. Some guy in the protest raises his AK-47, points it at him, like, I guess standing in front of his car, like directly in front of the car. So he aims it right at his windshield. Guy sees him aim the weapon at him. He draws his weapon, guns him down right there from the car. This guy just got charged and convicted of, I guess, murder. I don't know the specific charge, but essentially he got convicted of murder.
Wait, didn't he have guns drawn on him first, though?
That's what I just told you. And he got convicted of murder in Texas. Ye fucking hall. Texas, bro.
Yeah, that ain't right. And what was the racial difference? I'm sorry for you saying that, and I missed that as well. What was there?
None. Well, the white guy who died, he had a black girlfriend, but
oh yeah, that was it.
Yeah, but no racial difference. They're two white guys.
Yeah. So damn, that's interesting. This is okay. There was no racial issues there, but this is one thing, and this is where the people that always talking about racism and they circle everything back to racism. This is one area where if they were smart, they would really focus on this. They would really focus on this point right here. But then they would be okay. Well, let me just explain it, and I'll explain what's probably wrong with it. But if they were smart, they would focus on this issue right here. There are lots of incidents where a black person shoots another black person, and it's a situation similar to that. Because I remember somebody said the stand your ground rule is used more. Black people use that to protect themselves more than it's get used against black people, and I easily made the connection that think about it. Two people they could be rivals. They could be rival gangs, or they could just be some thug niggas that got beef. Who knows? If one of them pull up on if one dude is riding minding his business and another dude pull up on him and draw his gun out, and then he turn around and he shoot that person who tried to shoot him, that's self-defense. It do be a lot of but either way it go, they not thinking about that. They not thinking who drew their weapon first, who shot first, and who did what and why and when. They just know two niggas had a shootout and one of them dead and the other one got to get locked up. So what I'm saying is that would be actually the fight right there if they really want to fight against black people, getting locked up unfairly, because I do think it's a lot of situations like what you just described with them two white dudes where black people carrying a gun, well then again, niggas be carrying guns illegally, but carrying a gun legally or illegally, they end up having to defend themselves. They defend themselves, and then it just looked like two niggas had a shootout instead of one person defending themselves against an attacker. You see what I'm saying?
Well, in that scenario that you laid out, and this is a scenario that probably literally does happen every day when you mention like stand your ground, and that was a Florida case specifically where everybody learned about stand your ground because the Trayvon Martin thing,
Mm-hmm.
and technically he didn't even use that defense, by the way, but still that's where everybody learned the phrase stand your ground. And the interesting thing about it is, like you said, black people use it more than anybody else for the reason you just laid out. And when you have that scenario, what does happen in that scenario is you can technically beat the homicide charge, whatever that was. But if it's a dirty gun, you'll just go down for the gun, and that's that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the way it should be. I mean, that's a clear cut, law. You can defend yourself with an illegal weapon, but if you're carrying an illegal weapon, if you can admit to carrying the illegal weapon, like let's say it comes out in testimony that you were armed and you had to defend yourself. Well, okay, you could defend yourself. I guess that's all right, but now you have to go to jail for carrying an illegal weapon.
Yeah, so you're basically saying niggas would do a better job at breaking the law if they weren't too busy down breaking the law. Basically,
It's so weird.
Because the fact that gun is illegal, they can't beat the charges. They can't fully beat the charges. If they were not so busy breaking the law and they legally owned that gun and wasn't walking around illegal with that gun, or didn't have priors that caused them to have to be walking around illegal with that gun, then now they can make a good self-defense case when they end up having to shoot a nigga. It's like so much y'all can't even do that because you're so busy. You got so much other shit on your record to the point to where you got to walk around illegal. So it's like, man, if you wasn't breaking the law, you'd be able to break the law. Shit. But all right, pull up that next.
I threw a clip in the back chat too. That.
All right, Sir Tyson in the building says all gun control is racist. What is that?
Madge Torre. That's a gun rights activist. He's a black guy. He's on Twitter and then I think YouTube. So he does gun rights classes and stuff for black people.
Okay, yeah, I don't get all into that. I know how to shoot good enough to shoot if I have to shoot, and I got a gun in my house, but I don't be all into the doing all the classes and all the I be seeing them dudes who they when they go to the gun range, they got more they got more guns and more ammo than Rambo up in that joint. I ain't one of them cats. I just got the basics, but so I don't even follow those dudes. But Madge Torre, he says, and I agree. 2A and CCW for life. Shout out to my instructor, Freedman's Journal. Happy Saturday, Bernie in Hood. Happy shit, Sir Ty's birthday in the building. What's going on? Happy birthday!
Oh, happy birthday! Happy birthday, bro.
And also, we got marriage, politics, and sports in the building. Says Bernard, it is not that black people give a fudge. Black people have been socially engineered not to attack that issue. The demos, the Democrats are the puppet masters in the victimization condition.
Yeah, that's what I was just explaining a minute ago. That's exactly what's going on here.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want.
All right. Is that the last one? If that's the last one, click it off the screen. If that's the last one, or put the next one up. Okay, thank you everybody for supporting the stream. Do appreciate that. All right.
Yeah, I was telling you, I dropped another one in the back. Yeah, this is the whole gun control issue. Do black people really care? Now, this is a moment that happened between two elected officials in the federal government here, and it's crazy to watch because this was about all these dead white kids. And I don't necessarily, care that it was white kids per se. Like everybody's life has value. All lives matter. Like I'm totally with the all lives matter crowd. But I think it's telling that these dead white kids pulled this emotion and this energy from this guy, right? But you never do this about any of the dead kids in your own district. Because you're from the Bronx, bro. You're from like no, I don't want to say his district, it may be like Westchester or something like that, but he's from the Bronx. He's this nigga teaches in the Bronx. Like he'll tell you if you look into him, because I've looked into him a while. I've known about him for a while, but like you don't get this energy when somebody from your neighborhood gets shot up, right? But when these kids get shot up, this is what we get.
Well, they get that energy when somebody from their neighborhood gets shot by somebody not from the neighborhood. That's pretty much how it works. But all right, let's go.
Children at all, cowards, pressure them, force them to respond to the question, why the hell won't you do anything to save America's children? And let them explain that all the way up until election day of 2024. Let them explain it all the way up to election day of 2024. They're freaking cowards. They're gutless. They're not here. I'm talking about gun violence.
You know, there's never been
I'm talking about gun violence
in a school that allows teachers to carry.
Carry guns? You think more guns lead to more death? More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby.
It's like they had to run in and start patting them. Like, hold on. You're about to strike this white man in public. You need to. That wasn't hey, this is a bad look here. We need to none of that. Was like they had to come in and that soft, subtle break up a fight energy. You know, let me get in the way of this.
Carry guns,
right there. See, that was the moment where he took a step forward and raised his hands. They was like, oh no.
And look, niggas get shot every day in your district, bro. You don't do this for none of them. You don't want to fight for none of them niggas. You about to stab this white man over these kids that you ain't never met before. Niggas in your district, though, well, you know, sucks to be you.
More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby. Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. Guns, states that have open carry laws.
Do you think it's interesting? Because, you know, this is just where my mind is going. It's like they all walk behind the black dude, like they wanted to calm him, you know, what if they would have all, because, you know, if you listen to how, you know, they say, oh, other people on code, other groups stick together, other groups did this. What if they would have all just like walked and stood behind the white dude that was talking? Like, that's based off how everybody described white people. That's what you think they would have did. Like that, it wasn't. So they didn't. It's like they wanted to break it up in a non-threatening kind of way. It's like in a tiptoeing kind of way. Just walk up and pat them and let's just not.
Now, Bernard, you remember at the beginning, well, earlier in the show, you called me out, sort of. You mentioned this. I seem to get a little bit of too much enjoyment. Now you see why, though. You see, because in the moment, it comes off as like, bro, if they formed up like you say they would, you wouldn't be acting this way. Like, stop it. Stop the bullshit. You know you stunting. You got a soft target and you want to act big in front of a soft target. Because, like, bro, if they really was to do what you say they do, you wouldn't be acting this. You'd be like, you'd be just like the nigga with Martin Luther Nerd in the early clip when he was like, you see how this white man talked to me?
Yeah. He would have turned and looked at he would have stopped yelling and looked at the camera like, you see how they gang up on us and how they always trying to hold us down. He would have got all in that kind of shit right there. But
that's why I said, come on, man. Stop. That's why when you call me out on that, it's like, bro, when you see the shit happen, it looked crazy. Come on, you know, you would cry. You would melt if he was really standing up. That's why just this one guy standing up like that, he ain't even like standing up like they really did something. I'm just saying, this one guy even trying to confront him in this moment was significant because it's like, when he actually does confront you, you look stupid.
All right, there's still a lot more tape left in this.
More death. States that have open carry laws have more death. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Calm down, children are dying. 9-year-old children.
Oh, they not even intervening. They just passing by. It looked like it was initially a group of people that was trying to intervene, but everybody just walking by. That's interesting. They just like, okay.
This is a workplace, bro. They got shit to do.
Yeah. They like, we gotta get back to work, and whatever happened between y'all, that's between y'all. I'm not even gonna be in the camera shot. But it looked like one dude was trying to break. Actually, he probably was patting him like, excuse me, let me slide by you. I thought he was trying to break it up.
worked in a school? Have you ever worked in a school? Have you ever worked in a school? Have you ever worked in a school? It's a yes or no question. Have you ever worked in a school? You will not answer my question. Don't stop and talk to me. Okay, I'll bring it down a notch.
All right, folks.
Have you ever worked in the school?
I've got a bill to repeal.
I worked in the school for 20
What the
years.
hell?
I was a teacher. I was screaming before you came and interrupted me. I worked in the school for 20 years. So I worked in the school 20 years.
In every school,
I was a teacher. I was a school counselor. I was a middle school principal. I was in cafeterias protecting kids every day of my career.
There's never been a shooting. Never been a shooting. It's time. Look, we've got guns here to protect us. And we believe the kids should have somebody to protect them. Every school that's allowed it has never had a shooting, not even an accidental discharge in any of the schools. So.
Minus StreamYard and the avatars, that sound like a damn black YouTube panel. Like, what the fuck? That's how them damn arguments be, where the argument be about one thing, that somebody get bogged down on the side point and just start yelling and repeating themselves. Have you ever worked at a school? Have you ever worked at answer the question. Answer the question. Have you ever worked at a school? It's like that ain't even relevant to what they talking about, really. It's like that's what niggas do on panels, man. But go ahead. It's like you was about to say something.
That's how the pro blacks though. That's basically at every level. That's how it is. And the thing is, right? If you really look at like the mass shooting problem, there's a lot of black people in there. If you look at just the raw numbers and the definition of it, there's a lot of black folk in there. So what the white guy is basically saying is that, listen, black people, if you want to defend yourself against crazy niggas, here, take some guns. And the black guy is like, you can't trust black people with guns.
Was that no? See, I couldn't make out any words. He didn't. Okay, what did he say that? I know he ain't say it like that, but what did he say that implied?
He said more guns equal more death, right? Okay, well, apply that to the inner city. You saying you can't trust black people with guns? Okay, I think I'm gonna go with the white guy.
Well, see, here's the thing. Like going back to what I said when I was giving a speech earlier, the criminals gonna have some guns regardless. But I do want the law-abiding citizenry, if I said that word right, to have easy access to guns. So I'm good with more guns, even though I'm not a gun person. I own one, but I'm good with more guns. The more, the merrier. I don't like. We got open carry in Michigan. I don't care for that. That's just stupid. I don't need to see your gun. That's just stupid.
Florida just went with a permitless open carry, I think is the way to describe it. Like, as long as you have as long as you're a licensed gun owner, you don't need a concealed carry permit. You can just go outside. It's concealed carry. That's what it is. So you can just carry now. You don't need a permit to walk around with your gun. It's not open carry.
Yeah, that's wild. That is wild. Yeah, but
here's the thing.
Go ahead.
No, here's my position, especially like if we're gonna have a black conversation, right? I think that I should be allowed to defend myself with whatever the attacker is carrying, right? So if somebody is allowed to attack me with a bat, well, shit, I should be allowed to own a bat. If they're coming at me with guns, well, then I should be allowed to own a gun.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very simple open shut case to me. Like, guns should be easy to. I mean, okay. My only thing, people with psychological issues, I understand. There are caveats that I would like if as little as possible mentally deranged crazy people, just people who are crazy shouldn't be able to just legally own automatic weapons. I get that, but for the most part, the vast majority of citizens should be able to just easily own a gun. And I do, and the problem, I think part of the problem with black people, and I think this is starting to change, part of the problem with black people is the regular run of the mill law abiding citizens do not own guns at a very high rate. I think that much is true. The people who get into guns in the hood are or that are black are the ones that are on some nigga shit.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and because I don't have any numbers that I've actually looked into to back this up, but let me just go out on a limb and say this, right? The majority of voters, right? We're talking about actual voters. The majority of voters who would support any type of gun control are probably heavily female. And keeping true to that theory, I would argue that holds true for black women. And that is the secret sauce to, black people supporting gun rights.
That black women are the ones that support it.
I'm going out on a limb here, yeah, because when it comes to think about it like this, right? How many black mothers have lost a son to what they would call gun violence, right? So I think that is a sort of ready-made audience to pitch your gun control message to. And yeah, there's a lot of moms. The same thing with like mothers against drunk driving, right? That kind of voting energy can also be harnessed when it comes to gun violence, and I think that's probably something that would prove true in the black community. I just said I don't have the numbers for that, but I suspect it to be true.
Well, yeah, if you can convince them that legal gun ownership is going to help or possibly prevent a situation happening, like if something happened that caused their son got killed or something like that, but. I think they buy into a bunch of liberal stuff to the point to where I think they're more likely to be sold on the argument that these shootings and these killings are happening because people had easy access to guns and we need gun laws to prevent these things from happening. Like I think they're more likely to be sold on that argument than the idea of having more gun rights and gun ownership. I think the catch comes in, and I don't got the data on front of me for this, but I did hear somewhere that more black women were, were legally owning guns, than like it was an increase. It was a marketable, noticeable percentage increase of black women, legally owning guns in like the last, 5-10 years or so.
Well, I get that, but don't be too fooled by that because a percentage increase is a tricky math because 1 to 2 is 100% jump.
They do that a lot with black women when they throw those black girl magic parades. They say that yes, there was a 50% increase or 100 or 200% increase, and it's like if you understand how that percentage increase works, it's like the football team that went 2-16, and then they improved to not 2-16. They went 2-14, then they improved to 4-12. They're still a shitty team that's not making the playoffs, but they had a higher percentage increase than the New England Patriots with Tom Brady, who went 13-3 every year. Well, they improved to 14. They improved to 14-2. Okay, that was a very small percentage increase, but if we just look at the percentage increase, then that the Detroit Lions is gaining on the Patriots because they went from 2-14 to 4-12. It's like so yeah, it is a tricky thing. If you're at the bottom and you move a little bit, the percentage increase is going to be high, and I hate it when people do that. I hate it when people talk about that percentage increase. So yeah, good point on that one. Good point on that one right there. Good point on that one right there. But all right, is it any more clips on this stuff here? I don't even know if we made it all the way. Well, yeah, we pretty much at the end of this one right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to get to Kamala. She black again.
Oh yeah, she sounded real black in that the speech she gave. She sounded.
I don't know. Is like a melanin pill or something she took? I don't know what the hell got into Kamala, but Kamala was like full. It's close. I don't want to say sister girl because I don't think she can really do full sister girl, but this is as close as sister girl she gonna get right here. This is about as close as it gets because Kamala was really on something. She was on one this time.
Yeah. Yeah. You got that one. Okay.
I just dropped it in the back. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Shout out to MAGA equals Mothers Against Guns in America. Shout out to you. Appreciate you dropping $2 on it. Do greatly appreciate
These last $2, I'm not gonna lose.
Where the hell is my clip? Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold on. Where we at?
Hold up.
All right, there we go. That should be it right there. All right, yep, this is it. All right, this is Mala. This is Mama Mala going in. All right, let me pull it up. Enlarge it.
It wasn't about the three.
Add volume.
We understand when we took an oath to represent the people who elected us, that we speak on behalf of them. It wasn't about the three of these leaders. It was about who they were representing. It's about whose voices they were channeling. Understand that. And is that not what a democracy allows? A democracy says you don't silence the people. You do not stifle the people. You don't turn off their microphones when they are speaking about the importance of life and liberty. We understand when we took an oath.
Yeah, stop the clip.
People who elected us.
All right.
Now, you know what I was just thinking about too, and this is what's interesting. And black politics is almost always a distraction for like the bigger problems in the country. I think what's going on is on a certain level, black people are like the face of gun violence and have been for a long time. When it just comes to like just shootings and stuff, just the inner city numbers, New Jack City, all that type of stuff. So we've been the face of gun violence, and now we're going to slowly pivot to being the face of gun control. And so black people, and this is the, problem solution, sort of like Hegelian dialectic, we present you a problem, then we present you a solution, and then we win. So black people are the face of gun violence, and then we become the face of gun control. And so now, because of black people are going to convince you to give up your gun rights.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work.
yeah. That's a tough sell. I know, but they're trying.
But yeah, no, I get that's what's happening. It's because of niggas is the reason why people are going buying guns to protect their family. And now you got people who share the complexion of the people that you're trying to protect your family from. Telling you we need less guns. Yeah. So
like, listen. If you took the guns away from everybody, these niggas wouldn't have run up on you with guns no more. And you can trust me because I'm black.
Yeah, that's a tough sell. Yeah, you look. I mean, okay. Let me get your thoughts on this. I probably said this to you before, but this is probably we can refresh it. The whole gun debate, I think it amounts to a lot of political, just verbal diarrhea, political jacking off. I don't know what to call it. It's like when you really break it down, most people on the left or the right generally support guns and think guns are generally, a good thing. Like nobody's the amount of people who are truly 100% anti-gun pacifists in this country, I think they're relatively low. What ends up happening is that when some kids get shot, the Democrats, they got to come on TV and cry in front of everybody. And then the Republicans got to go on TV and say, out of my cold, dead hands, they're never taking my guns. And then and everybody rah-rahs on this side and everybody cries on this side, and then the politicians do a little political theater, but at the end of the day, ain't shit gonna happen. The guns will be the guns, and people will still have access to the guns. It's like nothing is going, like it's much to do about nothing. It's just like each side politically gotta basically virtue signal to their constituents. That's all it is. That's all it is when it comes to gun control. It's nothing's gonna happen. Nothing that they're not gonna take away a significant amount of rights. They're not gonna give anything that people don't already got. Is everything gonna stay pretty much the same way with just small fluctuations to appease people, just little small tweaks, but it ain't nothing. I strongly, like, this country is not going to enact some type of martial law where armed gunmen are going to come to your house with dogs to try to sniff out your guns and take your guns away from you. It's like that ain't going to happen. So it's like, so I do think both sides are just like this. Like if it's any part of American politics that's truly just a political show, it's the gun debate. What's your thoughts on that?
I could imagine there were gentlemen 50 years ago in this country having a conversation over a cup of coffee who were saying, this gay rights thing is crazy. I could never imagine a situation where transsexuals are in public reading books to young children, and the parents are bringing the children. And then when people tell you how much they disagree with this, they show up with guns to protect their right to have transgenders read books to their children. I could imagine two gentlemen having a conversation. This is a very, very forward-thinking conversation. These two really high IQ gentlemen, but still, I could imagine some kind of conversation like that happening 50 years ago. So I kind of reject the notion that we could never get to this horrible place. All terrible futures are possible.
Yeah. What do you think is more immediately possible? And good point on the gay thing. As soon as you started talking, I held my head down.
Why is that the one thing that can just destroy any kind of like leftward leaning? It's like, yeah, but I'll let you get away with that one thing.
But no, the reason I had to put my head down and like, oh shit, I had to shake my head is because I was that guy who was saying that, gay marriage, yeah, of course, let them get married. People are people. They want to be with somebody of the opposite sex. It's not gonna. And then all the people was all the slippery slope. Well, what's next? Are they going to start to do this? I'm like, yeah, I sound crazy. And then so I've had to admit, yeah, I was wrong. Okay, they did. They okay, yeah, they are. I've heard otherwise sensible, intelligent people argue why a trans person who has not had a surgery, got full dick and balls, but has gender dysphoria, could be dick and balls out in the girls' locker room in front of kids in there, dick and balls in the girls' locker room. I've heard that argument being.
I'm sorry, huh?
I was just saying, I've heard that argument be made by somebody who I thought was intelligent, and so that's where I had to say, yep.
FD Signifier, yeah. So wow. I'm just saying, yeah, that sounds like an FD Signifier type of argument. I wonder what his position on these sort of things is.
But yeah, so so that's why I find myself, kicking myself every time I make the "that'll never happen" argument. And then I had to remember that, oh yeah, I was in the "that will never happen" camp on a lot of stuff when it comes to aspects of the gay agenda.
Let's talk practicalities though. This is how it could go down. This is what the plan is, and I think this is what the plan has been. If you look back through let's say Maoist China or any place that's went like totalitarian communism or whatever, but basically you start with seizing the children. And how that works is, you get the teachers to just convince the kids slowly, little by little. You start to convince the kids that certain things are bad. You start to invert reality. Basically, that's what's happened with like the whole gender conversation right now. If you look at what's going on back when we were talking about Tennessee earlier, right? I told you they took a bunch of kids out of school to like be the foot soldiers for this protest. And that goes from like the college age to like the high schools, right? So you start doing that, and then you basically have generations coming up. Like every generation that you graduate from high school, you get more and more people who are like, you know what, why do you need an AR-15? And so eventually it just comes up as a natural vote, and then people will start to vote against their own rights, and that's what's going to happen. That's what actually is happening. Technically, people are basically voting against their rights.
Yeah, I see. All right. Oh, shit. Damn it. I saw something in the chat room that piqued my interest. Now it's gone. It's gone and lost forever. I can't find it. But shout out to everybody in the building. I don't know if we got too much else clips or anything to play as far as this, but I'll put the link in the chat if anybody else wants to come up and come up and get a piece of this discussion. Anybody else wants to come up and get a piece of this discussion, you are more than welcome. Shout out to Marriage, Politics, and Sports for the $20 super chat. The politicians need to stop talking about guns and focus on protecting kids. I can already tell we don't have a lot to discuss with this super chat already. When you say focus on protecting kids, explain what you mean. It's like, okay, if you're talking about mass shootings, that is a difficult thing to protect from one crazy individual doing something wild and rogue. That's why they make I think, extreme arguments of take the guns away. If they don't got access to guns, they can't shoot nobody. Okay, so we're going to take guns away from law-abiding citizens who want to protect their family because of the one person that you can't detect, because we don't got the precogs, the same minority report. We can't detect who was going to, do a mass shooting on a school before they do it. So how do you protect the kids from that? That's a difficult thing to protect kids from. So it's something else.
Not only that, there's something else to it too, right? And when you say protecting the kids, and I'm not going to direct this at marriage, sports, and politics. Like I'm just kind of going off on the subject here, but we all learned during COVID, like a lot of what the actual lessons that teachers were teaching to the kids. So a lot of parents had no idea what some of the individual lessons were. So what wound up happening is people learned, oh my God, they're introducing all these weird gender subjects. And so now the question becomes like, how do I trust you to protect the kids? You are the same people who introduced all this weird gender theory shit to children, not to mention all the CRT stuff, right? So like you kind of lose credibility when you scream protect the children.
Okay, let's see read the rest of this bad boy. It says, but 2 guards in each school K through 12. So you want armed gunmen in the schools from K through 12. Interesting. What's your thoughts on that? Hold on, wait. And tax guns and that. Okay, before we get to taxing guns and ammo, we're gonna break this one down bit by bit. He says, but two guards in each school K through 12. What do you think about that? 2 armed gunmen in schools K through 12. And we even talking about the white schools having armed gunmen walking around. Ooh.
I don't think like armed gunmen walking around would be a good idea, but I'm not against the idea of certain staff members being able to carry. I think it's something that should probably be worked out like on a local level. I don't know if I want to be creating a national policy, but I'm not totally opposed to it.
Okay, all right. And it says, and tax guns and ammo 10% on sales. What do you think about that? I don't even get that one, to tell you the truth.
Hell no. That's really a leftist type of notion. Like, why would you just be putting a tax on them? Just for what? Just because?
Yeah, we're making it harder to. No, bring that one back up. We didn't get to the end of that one. Bring that one back up. We didn't. Yeah. So he says that would be 3% of the budget yearly. The Schools Protection Act. That would be 3% of the budget yearly. School Protection Act. Yeah. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Do appreciate your thoughts, views, and perspective. Do appreciate your thoughts, views, and perspective on this. But I don't know why you. I don't know. It's like you're in the camp of making it harder for people to get the guns. that's what it is. That's what the tax is for. Let's make it. Let's just put more hurdles and red tapes for the people to get the gun. And I don't know if that solves any problem.
What would that 3% tax actually be diverted to? That's the other question. This is why you have to be very suspicious when people propose like these government agendas or whatever, because that, a 3% tax is going to the government, so it's a government agenda at this point. What is the government going to do in the spirit of protecting children? And what are they going to do that they haven't been doing already? Like, what new magical thing can you come up with?
Let me defend what I put up there for a second.
Sure.
And it has nothing to do with being leftist or rightist or anything else. I think we can't get past go on guns because everybody talks about the guns, like banning assault rifles, fooling around with the Second Amendment. Let's just take that off the table. We're not taking nobody's guns. We're not going to ban assault rifles. We're not going to do any of that crap, right? How can anybody in America be against putting more guns on the street? It's going to happen anyway. So you get two trained guards at schools. One is a little bit of a deterrent, and no, it's not going to stop every crazed person, but at least on site, the first responders are already there. Okay, if it could stop 1 or 2 or 3 mass killings a year or 4, is it worth it? We're investing in the kids. Let me just finish. I'm going to land it real quick. We're investing in the kids. The only reason why I put up the tax, I call it the Second Amendment tax, and I know that's a non-starter, but let's just put up the tax. We tax cigarettes. We tax because of the the increase in health costs of people who smoke. We tax gas because of the damage it does to the environment. So we tax some other things as well. We put air marshals on planes. And I'm saying if we had like a government-funded, company-owned set of security guards, now we're creating a new business structure, right? You could have private businesses that train these guys and fund them. You could put like 200,000 new people on the street with jobs, because there's approximately 140,000 schools from K to 12 in the United States. So you do the numbers. Our budget was like $5.8 trillion. This high end, if you pay $65K a year, low end $50K a year, your average are not 3%, but 0.3% of the tax would go to that. We spend money on all kinds of horse shit, right? I mean, all kinds of horse shit. So what's the big deal? It's just an idea. No, I mean, I'm not a demigod over here. I'm sure it'll be chopped to pieces, but I just said at least it's something to discuss, and that's all I mean.
I'm gonna throw you a lifeline on this one because I do like your idea with the. I do like your idea. And by the way, good afternoon, everybody. But I do like your idea with the guards. But I would say you could have maybe military people or ex-vets. That's something that they can walk in and do. Instant job right there. They're already trained. What are your thoughts on teachers having the option to be trained if they wanted to and have the right to carry? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and let me answer that part. I purposely said that because you can't get through the debate of having teachers armed. We should just get teachers back to the point of teaching, right? Teaching math, reading, writing, and none of this gay stuff which they're trying to force on them, and not even carrying guns. They shouldn't have to worry about that. They should just be able to teach. So I'm just saying, if you just think about it, I have 4 benefits of what I was talking about. The first was to have that security on site as a first responder. Think about the situational awareness that the SWAT team will have with having trained people on the site. Where's the killer? Where's the areas? They don't have to take time to observe that shit. They know where it is when they come. The second one is one of the other things that I had on there, and I don't have it in front of me, and I should have memorized them all, is just the fact that it will start a new industry, right? So that's jobs. If you call that a jobs program, it's not a welfare jobs program. It's actually putting new businesses and new employees on the street. Now, the reason why I wouldn't put military people there, because it's a whole nother government thing to have military people doing domestic stuff.
Well, hold on, because honestly, like the problem I have with your whole position is that it's inherently a federal government thing by definition, because you want to make it a national act, and so you're essentially describing an armed federal government force, and you want to federalize the school districts. Essentially, that's a key thing, because now the government has armed control of the actual schools and practice, right, as a physical property. Now they have armed control over the schools, and you're essentially federalizing the schools with an armed militarized force. I reject
Let me
that on
ask you a
that
question,
level.
brother.
Hold on. Let me just flesh it out with this and say that on the state level, I'm not against having individual, like, local governments figure that out, but in my mind, it would look more like expanding elements of their local police force, right? So they would have, like, maybe extra police that would just be stationed at certain schools, or they would have a police force that's dedicated just to that policing schools, where they would be armed and have the actual, like, authority of actual police. But I don't know if it would have to be a private militarized force. I think that's a little bit dangerous.
I agree with you, and I think I'm misrepresenting the force. It doesn't have to be. I said federally funded, right? The feds fund a lot of stuff at state level. I tell you, if you ask the states to do that, you know what they're going to do? The first thing they're going to ask the federal government is to pay them for it. That's what I mean. So put it in the budget, and put it in the budget that you give to the states. You don't have to control it. Just give them the money. That's what I really meant, and maybe I need to reword that. But that's where I'm coming from. So I understand what you're saying, but that's not where I'm going with that.
Even on that level, and if let's say we can agree on that one, right? I would still say that the issue for me would be like a private militarized, like essentially like some kind of militia force in the school. Like one in the school is just a weird prospect for me. I don't know if I would want them just in the school. And like teachers having guns is a non-starter as well, because sooner or later a teacher's going to shoot one. Like imagine your kid got clapped up by his teacher. Oh hell, nah, that's not going to work. But
Hold on. Let me challenge you on that, Hood.
Go ahead.
Just let's say you have a wife and she's a teacher. You wouldn't want her to be strapped.
I think the only way to really mitigate that is to, like, you can carry on like up till school ground, you maybe leave it in the car, but like if you're gonna carry that thing has to be locked away securely. There has to be something maybe worked out with the principal or something like that. But like you can't just be in class with a gun on your head.
We're not saying she's gonna have an outside the waistband holster, dog. I'm just saying. I think. Listen, this is why I'm heavily about training and all that. And Bernie, I'm gonna get on you when you said that about the range things and such. I think with the way it's okay. Let me say this. You know what those signs that say gun-free zones? Those zones have the most guns. Okay. All this stuff. The reason that these crazed shooters target schools is because they know they're unarmed. They know it's an easy win for them, or from their mindset, I should say. This is why I'm all for teachers. If they want to have the option, they should carry. Now, obviously, they shouldn't be like I said, outside the waistband carrying. Let me stop right here. There's some noise right behind me. But give me your thoughts on that.
Well, again, the problem for me, and I'm just thinking about, listen, I don't know what you like watch as far as like YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, but as far as like internet media, whatever. But I've seen so many videos of high school kids having just savage, bloody battles. And I'm not even talking about attacking teachers. That's coming up. I'm just talking about the nature of high schools now. These are many adults, like just short of adulthood people, right? Some of them with the fullest, physical capacity they'll ever have, probably, right? And you're talking about putting a frail old woman in a room, and they know that she has a gun in there somewhere, and that's just getting to the extremes of, like, a fight breaks out and one kid wants to grab the gun,
Well,
right?
nobody has to know, though. I mean, I just think it could just be a thing where
They will know. They will. I promise they will know.
Yeah, I don't see how that could be
only if she only if she's making threats.
No, so are you just bringing the gun in and out every day, or is it staying there?
Oh no.
So right, so you have to transport it. So that there's so many opportunities for people to know what's going on here, and then you're going to see not just the one teacher, but it'll be a couple of teachers. So it'll be understood. It'll just be known, and then it's a bad. You're just leaving too many awful potentials here.
Well,
I don't see how that.
Hold on for a second, Joe. Hold on. Let me well, shout out to E. Taylor. Shout out to E. Taylor with the $5 super chat. He said attacks won't help anything in New York City. Ninjas can buy guns or ammo, but we used to buy them all the time for 3 times the price from the South. Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't think the attacks will do anything either, but thank you. Thank you for that super chat, E. Taylor. Sir Tice, what was it that you said you had something you wanted to say to me, or
yeah. I was saying
about something? So what did I say? I said something.
Oh no, I'll segue into it. It's a bitch to make your own ammunition, but you can make your ammunition. And I understand what the brother is saying. He said, take some of the money coming in and do something with it. My only problem with that, and again, I love the fact that guys are at least coming up with solutions. The only problem is that the government is the worst spender and allocator of money and resources there is. So it'll be, it'll just be another mismanaged fund. When you were saying about the going to the gun range and dudes got Mossbergs, they'll have their handgun.
Yeah, they out there like Rambo.
All those things, right? And you just go, right? Well, hold on a second. That's me. Okay. And it's not because of it's not because you're out there like Rambo. There's a gun for each type of situation. The reason I'm very passionate about this, unlike many of the so-called pro-blacks, I understand what guns. There's a great book called Negroes with Guns. I would recommend people to read it. It talks about our journey in this country and how when we were in these various settlements, it was the gun that protected us. Okay, that was the one thing that kept things afloat, if you will. Now, I have a personal story. When my grandfather ran out of Mississippi, he was given a 6-shooter Winchester or what have you, and he says that saved his life. That gun is still within our family, So I look at them as the equalizer to things. Now, unfortunately, because guns have been so demonized in the media and things like that, we look at them like, for example, the average Southern white kid who goes hunting sees guns as a tool or a utility, because they use them for those purposes. Whereas the same average Black kid sees it as something to murk somebody with. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't go hunting, they didn't use them for squirrels or anything like that. Whereas it's funny how we get all this crappy propaganda, yet guns, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the hood, you probably know this off the top of your head. Like, we're 14% of the population, but we commit more or less 40 to 50% of the murders. What the hell was that?
50.
Maybe higher, but okay.
Right. I mean, and I think a lot. And by the way, look at how much ignorance is put on us. Think of the old school rap videos where guys are turning guns sideways and that kind of dumb, goofy shit, right? Anybody that shoots guns know that is the most inaccurate way to hold a gun. But look at how many people actually do that. You know what I'm saying? So my point is that gun education isn't targeted towards us. The guys that are doing it, or the black militias, if you will, they are basically demonized. Y'all just trying to be like them white boys, And I want us to get past this ignorance and let us know, hey, just like they got guns, we can have them too. Now, I think you guys said earlier, I didn't get the first part of the show, but
well, hold on. Let me make one thing very clear. Everything you said, Sir Tice, I agree with you 100%. I was basically saying it's just me personally. I'm just not that into it. Yeah, it was just a personal thing. But no, I respect everybody who do it. I just can't get into it.
I don't want us to always be an echo. right. I don't want us to always be an echo chamber, if you will. But what I can't stand, and rest in peace to those children and to the black man who was the janitor. I'm actually going to be in Nashville next week. So I just hate how. I bet Hood pulled that clip to Jamal Bowman, the congressman who was all loud in chambers and what have you. Damn, who was that? Anyway,
You got background, and you do got background, Sir Tice. I don't know if you can get to another area.
okay. Well, I'm at the beach right now, So, anyways,
Oh.
what I'm saying is that, damn it, I just lost my point there. Oh, I was gonna say is how they use these tragedies. It doesn't matter what it is. Case in point, how come the left, and I'll land the plane right here. That was a tranny person or a trans. How come they not talking about that right now? They're talking about banning guns. How about the mental illness of these people that would lead her? She's 28 years, or he, or whatever. Is 28 years old, going back to high school to some vulnerable babies? Are you kidding me? And the mass media is not talking about that aspect of that mental psychosis that they have. And then you got black people talking about, yeah, you don't need no AR-15 for nothing. They should ban it. Meantime, the criminals will have it, and everybody else will have it. And it'll just create a black market, And I will not confirm or deny that I have one.
I don't even know what I mean. If you legally own it, I don't know why you don't need to be not confirming or not denying it. But go ahead.
Let me say something on that point. I think the black folks in the South who are law-abiding citizens have a completely different mindset about guns than the folks in the North.
Facts.
Right. So I think their mindset are just like the hunters and the people down there. I think black folks need to get over their phobia about guns because of the rhetoric they hear on TV. Just like we should get over investing in the stock market because it's a Ponzi scheme or some stupid shit like that, right? Putting the money under your pillow. So as you get older and you ain't going to be in fist fights, I can't see anybody having a household without some kind of weapon in there to protect your family. And legally, just go through the process, get it, and go to the range once in a while and just get used to, having one.
Brother,
I'll leave that there.
Let me build on one point with you, and then I'm going to go back to my birthday drinking. Do you guys realize how many home invasions happen a year? I mean, Hood, I know you like to find those weird videos, but, I'm sure you probably see this, where sometimes they'll use women, like acting like they're a DoorDash delivery or Uber Eats, and it'll be a bunch of people coming through the back door, okay?
I just saw a video like that yesterday where a girl knocked on somebody's door and she says, oh, I'm sorry, my car broke down and you're the only guys who had a light on. Can I use a phone to make a phone call? And so whoever had answered the door, they must have had the door cracked or whatever. And so when the person says no, right at that moment, some guy just comes up out of like nowhere and tries to run up in the house, but they got the door closed at the last second. So shit goes down everywhere.
My trustee can find every video of every type of rogue situation, dude. Exactly. People, I believe sincerely that they don't advertise these things because they don't want people, to, dare I say, there is a cottage industry in victims, keeping people scared. Having that, oh, well, you got to wait for the police. I'll leave on this though. One reason one should have an AR-15 is during a natural disaster, where you can't wait for the police. You can't call 911 when it's a hurricane or it's a tornado. Guess what happens after those things? We've seen the videos of people going into the Foot Lockers, going into the sports. What makes you think they don't go into people's homes like that, with no power? That's one reason why you need an AR-15. You all have a good afternoon.
All right, peace, sir. Peace.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to come up and say a little bit about my piece there. I know it's not a solution, but I know based on listening to these idiots in Congress and the Senate, when they talk about assault rifles, I mean, that's a non-starter as soon as you bring it up, right? Arming teachers is probably a non-starter when you start talking about that. Anything to amend the Second Amendment is a non-starter. So you can't even get past go to the real issue at hand. And nothing is 100%, right? You're not going to 100% protect anybody.
Well, let me ask you a question. when you say the real issue at hand, expound on that for me, please.
Well, when I say the real issue at hand, it's not the guns, right? It's not the guns itself. Even though some people are making it, the issue that brings up gun control all the time is some kind of mass shooting. If we didn't have people who go crazy, and here's my thing, a sane person, that's when they talk about mental health. That's still stupid because I could be sane today and insane tomorrow. So how can you really stop it from that way? So gun control only comes up after every kind of mass shooting, especially when it's kids in the schools and stuff like that. Can you
I would argue that it comes up only when it's a school shooting and or a white male. Because technically, if you take white male and school shooting out of it, the majority of mass shootings are like urban violence, essentially, right? So that is the other side of the problem here. So it really only comes up when there's a white male or a school shooting. So we've had black kids shoot somebody in school. It wasn't necessarily a mass shooting in the same spirit of somebody like walking around shooting random people, but there are like little slight differences that kind of it adds a different narrative as when you bring up like which incidents get talked about.
But that still doesn't mean we shouldn't move forward. Now, here's the reason why the
We'll move
black
forward how though? I don't understand how we could pass legislation. What legislation?
and now let me finish.
I'm sorry.
I heard what you're saying. I agree with you. But one of the reasons why the black issue doesn't come up is because we don't push it. As black folks, we don't make it an issue. We know how to make stuff an issue, but somehow, just like we were talking about before I got on, how blacks don't, we have, I hate to use it because it's a buzzword now, selective outrage. We should be as outraged about what's going on in our inner cities as everything else. So, but when I say push forward, I know, listen, I'm not a demagogue about what I put forward. All I'm just trying to say, if we're solution oriented, one of the things I learned is when somebody brings me a problem, I try to give them a solution, right? And whether it's the solution or a solution, I'd rather say, hey, why don't we look at this? Why don't we look at that? So we can solve the problem. And the only thing is, just like you and I, and we're in America here, we see what's going on in Congress. They don't even come to a point where there's a meeting of the minds where they could do anything. Because they talk about these hot button issues, and it's either far left or far right. And it's like people can't even get to a point where we're actually doing something. We don't need any more laws. We don't need to change anything. We just need to just go ahead and move forward in saying, hey, if I was going to protect the school, any school, you can't have 100% protection. But if I had two guys or two gals, I don't care who are trained, I'd feel a little bit more safe than having the school butt naked to the world. That's all I'm saying. Whether it's the solution, no. Is it a solution? Yes. And the government, as dysfunctional as it is, throws money at all kinds of bullshit. Right? So if we got something to throw money at that might save some children's lives, even from one mass shooting, I don't see it's a big deal.
You said something a minute ago I wanted to comment on.
Okay, go ahead.
When you said you said that we don't need more laws, right? And that's a sentiment I support. And my problem, and what I think your problem is, and maybe I'll present this to you for the first time, but the things that you're describing, I think what you're describing is actually a problem that law can't solve. And that's why it's such an intractable issue. But what if there is no legal remedy to this social phenomena? And so any law you try to pass that actually attacks the social phenomena is only going to either A, lead to restricting your constitutional rights in some ways, which seems like to be the argument, seems to be the goal for certain people, or B, you're going to actually create problems that don't solve the problem you try to try to solve.
That's a possibility, but I don't think my proposal goes there. I don't think my proposal recommends a change of any law other than maybe raise taxes on guns and ammo. Which
you see, that's a big thing.
No, well, hold on. Let me just. I know that's why I'm smiling but to me, that doesn't say I'm gonna take away your guns. Just like, let me put it to you this way: people who love guns and people who live in America are not understand taxes. We understand tax. We might be pissed, but a 10% tax or 5% tax is not going to stop me from buying that gun I want. It's just not going to do it. We know that. It didn't stop
What's
people
the
from
point?
buying
What's the point of the
cigarettes.
tax then?
Well,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
just saying. Well, here's my thing, and here was my rationale for that. We tax cigarettes partly because of its impact on the healthcare system and the cost of people smoking and killing themselves. That's why there's a cigarette tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gun and ammo industry has gotten away with literally murder, right? They're indemnified from being sued and all of that kind of stuff. But one of our issues is that guns can can be used for great purposes, but they don't have any liability for the misuse of guns, even though that's by people, right? And I could say to you, I submit to you that when a person goes rogue with a gun or rifle or anything else, they cause some kind of, they take away from the American society. They just do. And there's a cost to that.
Well, do we
You know,
only
so
apply
I
that
can't
logic to
talk about that.
guns, though? What about
So what?
cars? If somebody do we only apply that logic to guns? Like, so
No,
there
but
was a guy. Let me lay it out real quick. There was a guy in I want to say Michigan somewhere or Wisconsin. It was a Christmas parade, and he used his car to like ram through the Christmas parade. So are the car makers now held liable for his action? And should we?
I hear,
You see how that goes?
no, but I hear you. But we've already set the precedent on certain things with taxing it because of the damage it does to the greater society. We've already set the precedent. So yeah, is it a slippery slope? It's not going to jump from guns to cars. I don't think that would happen. But we already do it on cigarettes. We already do it with gas in the gas pumps. We can't get a carbon tax, so there you go. So
Oh,
somebody
have you
put on.
heard of a
Jump in real
15-minute city, sir? Have you heard of a 15-minute city?
No, what is that? Tell me.
It's a new urban philosophy that's happening in some places where they essentially want to remove cars from the urban areas. So they're trying to have people live within 15 minutes of all the things that they might need in their urban life. So the idea that they won't remove cars, I'm just saying that it's totally never say never, bro. Is all I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
These
But
people have so many evil plans, but all right, somebody wanted to get in there real
hold on,
quick.
real quick. Yeah, real quick before we pass it to the other brother on the panel, Daniel Williams, I believe that's your name down there. I do want to, and I see Mr. Tobert just made it down there in the back. Do want to shout out because I always forget to shout out my cash apps. Karsten Ferguson. Yeah. Oh shit, there we go. Let me not say people's government name. K Ferguson dropped a $10 cash app, says for gun control for U.S., not the Ukraine or Taliban. Right on. Thank you very much.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want.
Shout out to you for putting $10 on it. Now, Daniel
All good.
Daniel Williams.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, you didn't have to put the government name on there, but
oh no, you came up with the government name.
It's all good. It's all good, bro.
Like, yeah.
It's all good. I was gonna say it's kind of a slippery slope when you start talking about taxing guns, right? Because basically what Hood said, you could apply it to cars or knives or anything else, right? And you're basically absolving people of agency. So if the shooter in Tennessee, she chose to do that, but nobody's talking about peeling back like what happened before that. There was clearly some mental issues. Anybody who goes around and shoots up a crowd has some mental issues, and nobody talks about that. So when you start talking about taxing the rest of us, and now the rest of us have to pay for that mental issue, that's where people hop off the train.
But you're not paying for that, though. You're not paying for the mental issues. You're paying for the right to own as many guns as you want.
I'm paying for the result of the mental issues. Because now the assumption is most gun owners have mental issues. When you apply that tax, you're saying most Most gun owners have the probability of having a mental issue. And so now we have to pay more. And instead of solving the real problem, which is social degeneracy, mental issues, which causes people to do this. This is a human problem.
I don't disagree with you, but let's how do just go in your thing. How do you solve the mental issue when I could be sane today and my wife leaves me, she's stroking my brother, and I get pissed and I just want to go shoot up the world? Tomorrow? How do you stop that? How do you stop somebody from going? That's what I'm saying. People, let's attack the mental issue.
And in that situation, it's choices. Either you chose the wrong woman, or she's a degenerate. Right?
Yeah, but everybody has that. Everybody has a rationale for why they went crazy. That's what I'm saying. So, how do you draw the line? I could buy a gun legally today. How do you stop a person from buying a gun because you think they're going to be crazy tomorrow?
I mean, they do have red flag laws, but even those are a little wishy-washy without due process that helps.
Yeah, I don't think you can plan for somebody potentially going crazy down the road if something happens. I do understand the argument that if somebody already got documented stuff going on that's where they're not mentally all the way right upstairs, then yeah, okay, then that's a place where I think most people can agree that some red tape should be put out there, but we're not Minority Report. All right, that's one of my favorite movies, but we don't have the precog. So yeah, so it's nothing.
That millionaire in Vegas who killed 57 people was a multi-millionaire.
But I don't want to skip past the point. This brother, he did put out an idea at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Even if a lot of people even a lot of us disagree with it, he put out an idea at least.
Yeah, no doubt.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's all it is. It's an idea.
All right, Mr. Tobert in the building. Go ahead. You got the floor. You got the mic. What's on your mind?
Peace of the panel. How's everyone doing? It's been a while. I get real passionate when it comes about, I guess, like guns or whatnot, because I can or cannot say that I own a few. But it's always it is a people issue because, I mean, per the stats, I mean, more people, die per year versus other, accidents, boating accidents, knives. Like people die from knives more than the quote unquote, rifles. So it's a tough decision to make.
You was breaking up a little bit, but am I hearing that right? You saying more people die in the States from being stabbed than they do from getting shot?
From rifles, not necessarily handguns. From rifles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I know people. We shoot here. In other countries, from what I hear, especially third world countries, they stab. Like, is it like even in like Kenya? There's a lot of stabbings out there. It was fucked up. That somebody I know from Kenya said, well, if we had the amount of guns that y'all had in the States, it would be just as many shootings in Kenya. I was like, niggas everywhere. But
it's a people issue, but it's a tool. Unfortunately, it's a tool.
They stab out there. Yeah, true. You're true. It's a tool. I mean, you can't police the gun. What about the argument? Okay, this has been a long-standing debate. The gun makes it easier. People are people, and people are messed up, and people are going to kill. The gun just makes it easier to do it. What's your response to that argument?
I mean, before that, the sword made it easier. The bow and arrow made it easier. I mean, again, I'm gonna go back to it's not the weapon, it's the people.
But is there a line though? Because okay, let's just say if in the unlikely event that nuclear bombs were easily accessible, nuclear bombs with drones was easily accessible. Oh, it's not the nuclear bomb and the drone, it's the people. But we getting pretty efficient at killing people. I mean, that's the argument, and I don't agree with that argument, but that's the argument just to I guess to make the case for the person who's completely against bringing in full martial law armed gunmen. It's funny how to get rid of people's guns, you got to send armed gunmen to their house to take their guns, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah, but isn't that a recognized non-starter? I mean, we got to face what kind of country we are, right? At some point, the freedoms we have come at a cost. The freedoms that we enjoy come at a cost. And
Yes, one of our enemies. Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of those costs, and rightfully so, is the Second Amendment. For whatever it was originally written for, it's been stepped on or whatever. But most people don't disagree that we should own guns, right? So, any notion in Congress or any discussion about taking guns away, limiting the types of guns, and all that kind of stuff is just a non-starter. That's why we can't get nowhere. That's why whatever kind of move forward we have to do has to come without talking about those sacrosanct things, right? So, because of the issue that it's not the assault rifle that kills people, it's a person, right? So, and we know that if you take it away from people who are law-abiding, it's not going to stop the criminals from getting it, right? So these things we already understand. So my thing is, we used to have a lot of men everywhere. We're supposed to be logical and solution oriented, right? But how come that shit fails when it gets to Congress? Or somewhere. Go ahead.
You mentioned men, right? So if you look at schools, and I forgot who posted this maybe a few days ago or a couple weeks ago. Schools are predominantly female led, right?
Like
and
almost everything else,
yeah, and so there's really no protection. I had a friend of mine who was a teacher, and he was explicitly told he couldn't defend himself if he was attacked. He had to, drop down and cover his head, if he was attacked in a school, right? And he was like one of 3 men in the entire high school.
What I'm saying is, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll wrap this up real quick. So that's another issue, right? Schools have become targets because they're basically unprotected.
Yes, and let me tell you, just because the schools themselves are female-led doesn't mean that men have to listen to that shit, right? We have to. Men have to bring order to women's chaos anyway. And we have advocated that. I don't give a shit if a school principal or superintendent doesn't want the school protected some way. There's always somebody higher who should have his dick out and say, wait a minute. It's not up to you to protect the students. It's up to me, right? It's up to them. So we've advocated just too much. And that's the one thing. I don't want to go on this tangent. This is the one thing I have a big issue with the Western white man, okay? You guys don't have no problem killing everybody to get what you want, but they're like pussies in the front of their women. And that's why everybody in the East and everywhere else hate the West. It's a component because of our abdication of our rightful position on top of the food chain as men, right? I mean, we have our bad parts, and I'm not even a chauvinist. I'm just saying a lot of chaos that we're living with now is because we've abdicated a lot of shit to women's control. And, I could be, I don't have to be a Democrat on that one, but can't you feel it? It's all around, it's just all around us. If we had our druthers, we wouldn't be living like this. We wouldn't be talking about transgender rights just because a transgender person went in and killed 6 people. Now we're worrying about whether they're going to get hurt or not. How is that more important than the kids they killed? That one person killed, by the way.
The interesting thing about that, though, real quick, is the Democrats who are actually marching and pushing for all this gun control have yet to visit. Like Kamala Harris went to Tennessee, and she didn't visit any of the victims of the shooting.
Exactly.
So
she went I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
I'm just saying, it like what I was talking about, the teachers sort of losing credibility. It's like the people on that side of the argument, and yourself obviously notwithstanding, I'm just saying the people in government on that side of the argument, they lose all like practical credibility when it comes to these basic things. Like you care more about taking away people's guns than you do about the actual kids who got killed.
Exactly. I mean, I don't believe that. I don't believe regular men feel that way. Men who still, that's just me. I just think that's more the feminine part of life. I mean, like, Kamala Harris speaking, she went to Africa with all the bad things going on there. What she had to talk about is Uganda passing a law against transgenders. You know, I mean, you know, how is
You
that the
know,
main thing?
that was a story, Bernard, I was gonna pitch to you, but I figured, you know, we talk about that enough. But like
I mean,
that
you
is
know,
that was a story, bro. Listen, America is trying to gay bully Uganda. And a couple other African nations, by the way. But yeah, we are gay bullying Africa at this point because Africa is passing some very, very stringent laws against the LGBTQ. I mean, they went up to the death penalty. Like it's
How,
crazy.
how does that work? Like, I mean, is death penalty if you like get caught switching a little bit, or you know, or you got a
Dude, I
motivational
don't,
voice, or
I
you
don't
gotta
even want
you
to
gotta get
imagine.
caught? You got to get caught in a full blown act. Like,
I'm
I
sorry,
mean,
I'm sorry for kind of bringing that up, but it's really not just because they're gay.
but no,
It's because of the way of life that comes with that.
No, I
It's
get it. I get it.
You know, so I mean, they're bullying America. We've been bullied to death, man, in America already, and and too many men have acquiesced. You can't make a movie without it. You can't talk about it. They want to, in Canada, they're passing a law that even if you speak a mispronoun, you can face jail time.
I won't say bullying. I'll just say that's just, I guess it's someone else's term per se.
yeah.
Anyway,
I was trying to find a skit that I saw a long time ago where, and you know, and it was made in humor, but it was supposed to be a clapback against the Second Amendment. You know, basically saying that when those laws were written, the way guns were back then, that they were, like, okay, we all saw the movie
Muskets.
Glory, muskets, and then yeah, you know how they shot this, they shoot their shot in Glory, and then they got to take the time and then put the thing in there and do all kind of stuff, and then so they basically tried to do a reenactment of a mass shooter with that kind of gun, and then so he got one person, and then he had to do all of that shit, and then all that amount of time when he finally got the gun ready to go, he looked around, nobody was fucking there. I was trying to find that skit because the point that they were trying to make, and I don't know if it was a valid point, but they were basically making a point that when all the laws that protect our right to own a gun was made, it was no kind of guns, and so that was the argument, I mean, I'm trying to make the counter, trying to steel man the counter argument, unless we get an anti-gun person that's brave enough to come up here and truly,
Well, I mean, are you saying that we should lose our rights based on the advancement of technology?
Well, that's what I was sort of trying to go down that rabbit hole. Can technology get advanced to the point to where we do got to change a few things if one person can, I mean, I said everybody can easily assess a nuclear bomb on a drone. It's like okay, at some point do we change? Well, I mean, we never. There's no amendment that says right to own a nuclear bomb. But
here's the problem.
I'm going down the rabbit hole. Just teasing out the thoughts. Go ahead.
Well, no, not. But it's maybe a philosophical point, but I need to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Only a moral country. Only a truly moral people can truly be free, meaning that if each individual person operated on the same moral wavelength as everyone else and they held themselves to that same standard, right? It's obviously like a utopian vision, but still, if that's what you could get, then everybody could have a little mini nuclear reactor right in their garage, and there'd be nothing to it. But the problem is we are not all moral, and we can't have a completely moral society. I mean, we don't have a completely moral society. In fact, we are a very immoral society at this point. And so it becomes a tough problem of like, the problem at hand, I think, isn't an issue of law. This is what I was talking about earlier when I brought this up to you. Marriage, politics, sports. I was saying that.
Call me Rich, man.
Yeah, because you got a long name. But yeah, I was saying that I don't think it's a problem that we can really write laws. We can't legalize our way out of it, perhaps, because we are suffering from moral decay. And I don't know if there's any legislation that can attack moral decay, at least not the type of legislation being proposed.
Especially when the legislators are infected with it.
Well, you gotta
Yep.
de-incentivize it. Like right now, it's
Change.
incentivized to for the moral decay. You know what I'm saying?
And what's
Like,
your name down there at the bottom? Is that True Hype? I can't really see it. Is that
yeah,
am I
yeah,
reading that right?
yeah.
Okay.
You said my government on the Cash App, man.
Oh, my bad. But True Hype. All right, cool. Got it. True Hype in the building.
Yeah,
Welcome to the show. You got the
yeah.
floor, you got the mic. What's your thoughts on all this?
Appreciate y'all, man. Like most gun control was actually started out to keep black people from owning guns. So it's really funny when a hood conservative says, like we're the face of gun control, when a lot of legislation of the past was not there for us to have guns. And I harken back to that Dave Chappelle joke about the Dave Chappelle joke where he says, if you want gun control, whatever, just get a bunch of black people to own guns, and then they'll push that stuff through. It's kind of funny, but in some people's minds that is actually the case. Look at the California, was it the joint in the 70s where they were on the California state capitol, the Black Panthers with the guns. That's when a lot of stuff started getting pushed through. It was a bunch of black war veterans, mostly, coming back in their own guns. I personally, I'm from the South. I'm actually here in Tennessee. I got a friend of mine was actually working for a joint, was actually at the Capitol, and has been at the Capitol on some of them days of contention.
Really quickly though, and this is how complex the issue is for black people, especially when it comes to like black politics. And everything you said is factually correct, right? But what a lot of people don't understand is that at the same time, those were black people, but they were also like a communist movement. And so there's just a weird conversion of issues here. And I don't think everybody really gets the full context of how that plays out.
Well, Hood.
Wait, hold on, real quick, before you react right to Hood, Sir Tice did just send a $10 Cash App, and I'll definitely highlight this comment here and just treat it like a super chat. He says, "When have black?" He's responding right directly to I think to True Hype. He says, "When have black people not have been allowed? When have black people not have been allowed to have guns?"
What do we get for $10? Everything.
Thank you for the $10 super chat. The only time they will not been allowed, as far as I know, is slavery, post-slavery. I'm pretty sure we've always been able to own guns. But anyway, go ahead. I'll let you. I mean, I think he's putting that directly to you, Tor, based off a statement that you made that the original gun laws was made to prevent black people from owning them. But go ahead and respond to that.
I'm not sure how to like attack the question, because you can write a law to make it super prohibitive to actually own the gun. Case in point, like the tax thing. Not to beat my man's up, there was saying the tax. But if somebody is less inclined to be financially able to afford the gun, like that is going to be prohibitive. Just like New York, for example.
Exactly. Yeah.
They got them sin taxes. They love the tax revenue from cigarettes, and it's not about health. It's about money. Because they really cared about health, they would just completely outlaw cigarettes. Straight up.
Yeah, but you're right. But but the point is that folks are used to paying taxes. The funny thing is, when I did the final calculations on my proposal, I said, suppose we didn't tax the guys and the government foot the whole bill. It's really not that much more for the government to do, and it came out to like 0.3% of the budget to pay for that proposal I had. I mean, just funding to protect the schools without changing the Second Amendment, without banning any kind of weapon, without anything.
Is this taxing everyone or just the actual people who are buying the guns and the ammo?
I had the 10% tax on guns and ammo. That's it.
But how can you account for every firearm purchase and every box of ammo being sold? Wouldn't that almost create a registry?
The ones that are legal, the ones that you could legally tax.
No. I mean, like, how can you track how much that's being actually spent on in your proposals?
Just like they tax everything else. I don't know how they do it all, right? How do they get the tax on gasoline or cigarettes? If it's a legal seller, you put the tax on it, right? For somebody to purchase it. I mean,
And that could, as far as for the firearms, that could almost open up an issue for a registry to an extent. If you tax a certain firearm, then that can, to no almost extent, be cataloged and whatnot and stuff like that. So that's also a little bit dangerous.
No, I hear you. Like I said, I'm not hard over anything. It don't have to be a tax at all. I just think the government should make it happen, whether they tax the industry or not. I just put that in there as a syntax. That's all. It's just as a recognition that guns have a price to pay in its part with something negative in society, which has a cost.
I suspect. Well, yeah, you got it.
Even with that being said, right, you understand with silencers, we have to pay a tax stamp on that as well. There is no such thing. You have to pay a tax stamp on silencers. If you want to cut it off to, I believe it's like a short barrel rifle, anything from like 12.5 inches or so, we pay a tax on that. So, sorry, I'm at work, so I'm out of breath, and I'm a delivery driver. So it makes it work. But as with that being said, right, I hope people have an understanding that there is no such thing as an automatic rifle as of 1986, May 1st. That's been outlawed. Nobody can own an automatic rifle or machine gun or any of that sort whatsoever. So even with that notion, right, I think what people are trying to argue is high capacity. Even with high capacity, even with high capacity guns, right? People do certain things with high capacity. People in Texas, they hog hunt. They do hog hunting, elk hunting, all kinds of hunting. So again, we have to really understand the argument. Have a good day, man.
You got it.
Well, I think most people are just like casual gun owners, and there are very few situations, just by the numbers, like there are very few situations where a person has to like use their gun in some kind of like personal defensive way. But that's really the ultimate reason why the gun is a part of our right as an American citizen. And I think the problem is that for people in general, it just feels like you're forcing them into a defenseless situation when you attack the whole gun rights issue this way, because it's, no matter how you slice it, you're putting some type of punishment or you're levying something on people who did nothing wrong to solve a problem that may very well be actually unrelated to guns. And I think it's, somebody else mentioned it, we actually have a crazy mental health issue going on in this country. And I was just going to say too, that what if we, instead of trying to restrict guns or write laws to tax guns and ammo or whatever, how about we made some tax incentives for marriage or whatever? How about we actually taught basic how about we have things like home ec in schools? Maybe we should attack the problem from the root instead of the leaf in the branch. You know what I mean?
Hey, Hood, can I jump in real quick?
Go.
So two things. So to the Sir Tice thing, there was actually a Florida law in 1825 that I just had to look it up because I couldn't remember the year, where they actually go into Negroes' houses, free or enslaved, and pull out guns. There's several other cases across different states, but to the incentive thing, that's the perfect kind of segue, because I mean I've listened to y'all a lot. I've been like kind of one of those lurkers or whatever anyway, like just chilling in the background. And y'all talk about it all the time. It's cultural. Most of the problems, the ills that we have are cultural, but they're dressed up as either this or that. And honestly, you got to solve the cultural issues, and you need to harden the schools. So when I say harden the schools, the inner cities have had metal detectors since the 80s. I mean, the only reason why we're having this now is because it's happening in the suburban areas now. It's leaked out. So like the it's good, at least not good, but it boosts the numbers whenever it's a certain class of people. But like, are we actually do the people that actually virtual signal with these numbers, these mass numbers, do they actually like look into each individual case? And they don't. Harden the schools. Like, I mean, some of the school shootings can be solved with like, a better door, no glass, shatterproof glass, easy stuff, even cheaper than the guards. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think when you're talking about the school shooting in particular, I think that's a unique phenomenon. And maybe I'm not really going to argue against hardening the school to whatever degree. That's not really the issue I have. I just think it's that there's a problem on the social level, and there's a reason why during the 30s and 40s, you ever seen pictures of like, they're mostly white kids back then, but you ever seen pictures of like kids taking their guns to school? They had hunting classes.
Oh no, like Hood. I talked about this a week ago. Like Columbine happened when I was in high school,
Me
and
too.
one of the dudes that like we were in auto mechanics at the little 300. He was gonna go hunting, and he had the gun rack in his truck. I went to school with them good old boys that did that all the time, and then even the black people there were like, "Why you got to take his gun back?" We didn't understand because we've been socialized around guns. But go ahead.
No, but I think you kind of get where I was going, where it's such it's a heavy cultural problem, and I don't even mean necessarily black culture. I think it's something going on in the culture of America, because when you talk about a person who goes into a school and shoots random people isn't anywhere near the same category psychologically as like somebody, urban black violence, which is most of what the mass shootings are. But the school shooter phenomena, what real outside of like practical measures to actually harden the school, as you say, I don't know what measures you could take to attack that problem from a legal standpoint. And I think we do have to think about issues, solutions that attack the social issues.
There's two sides to that. All right, so what you physically can do is be like, hey, requirement from here on out federally by law, and this will make every school have to do such a thing. Make sure that all the glass, any big glass, any quote unquote small glasses, windows, big windows, small windows, they're bulletproof and they're tinted. So as long as they're bulletproof and they're tinted, that's step one. And if you move into damn, she's fine as hell. Jesus Christ. Sorry, my bad. My bad.
We most safe Freckles, brother.
Sorry, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean, you can start there. You could be like, all right, well, we need now, with that being done, we can have 3 guards, whether that be, matter of fact, not 3 guards, 3 police officers with not handguns, rifles, and make that mandatory across the board. And who would have to pay for that? Taxpayer. That's it.
So you agree with my proposal almost,
in a way,
except for the tax thing.
No, because if you're taxing me for something that somebody does recreational, or no, that's not in that sense. It's not fair because I'm already paying a state tax to even buy ammo. I'm already paying a tax to buy even my gun itself, depending on what state you do it. I'm lucky that I even bought my rifle from Texas because I don't have to pay any taxes whatsoever. So certain things like that.
No, I was gonna say, David Ollerking in the chat. He says all school shooters have been on SSRIs, right? And we're talking about that school shooter phenomenon in particular. And I think if you set the guns aside and you start to ask questions about what do these kids have in common other than the gun itself, I think you start to go down the right path.
Yeah.
But one reason why we're not going to go down the path of the SSRIs, I want to go down that path, and I mention this to other people all the time. But one thing is because there's a lot of money invested in the keeping kids drugged up, and people in general.
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat room said every school shouldn't look like a hood 7-Eleven, and I know what he's talking about right there. When you go to some of them hood corner stores or 7-Elevens, you got the surveillance video everywhere. They selling you shit behind a bulletproof glass, and it's like is that the school environment that you want? I think that's the argument that he's making.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to look like that.
I'll post it like this. Okay, do you want that, or do you want the possibility of a school shooting? Which one?
Yeah, but not even that. It doesn't even have to look like that. You can beautify and have like metal detectors in the frame of the door to where you don't even know if it's a metal detector unless you had a gun. You can make it look
But
beautiful.
also, you have to worry about 3D printing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can tell. So part of the problem is the country doesn't really care about kids, right? If you go to an airport and you want to fly, right? They have set it up so that you minimize the possibility of getting weapons onto a plane. Some do slip through, but there was a targeted investment to get the process and technology in place to make flights safe. If they wanted to, you can make schools safe. If the country truly cared about kids, and you could tell they don't care about kids by all of the buffoonery and coonery that goes on in the school system right now with kids. And so you got two issues. You have black people as being put as the face of this nonsense in Tennessee, and as the face of the nonsense in Florida too. The two are connected, by the way. The issue with CRT in Florida, where they put black people in front of that, which the actual issue is that Florida wants to pump out more STEM graduates, but let MSNBC tell it's all about CRT and erasing Black history.
Yeah, because they want more dollars in their system. That's all it is. It's kind of like with the abortion issue in Texas, where they're basically like outlaw a lot of that. It's the same thing. It goes down to like, where's the money go? What's going to generate the money? They have to look at these things and they have to say, okay, where's the money? Because they don't even give a shit about people's safety, really, if you really think about it. I mean, if you want to be honest, they just care about the money.
Yeah, and for that Tennessee shooter, she actually had in her manifesto, she had different schools, I guess, laid out, and she actually did reconnaissance to figure out which one was the more softer target. So there were schools that did have, I guess, hardened security and whatnot, but she chose the softer target.
Hey, speaking of manifestos, that shooter, they refused to release the manifesto. I'm surprised you even know anything about it, because officially they won't release the manifesto. So I'm sure you got to like really scour the internet somewhere and get it. But there was another shooter somewhere out west. I want to say in Colorado, but there was another shooter who just got intervened recently. They stopped the shooting. And so when they stopped this person from committing the shooting, you know what they find? A trans manifesto. It was a trans person. That's what made it crazy. It was another trans person, and they find another transgender manifesto, and then God knows what they had said in there. But they would rather us talk about gun rights than talk about what was written in those manifestos.
Mm-hmm. Because it's all about control. It's money and control, and money through control.
Oh damn! I was on mute.
How do we keep electing these people, though, man? How do we keep it? It was in the. Okay, I'm sorry.
Wait, before we go down that road, my bad. I was trying to talk. I forgot I was muted up. But how did they stop the guy or girl or whatever he was or she was? The trans person. You said they prevented it. How did they prevent it? How did they stop it? Because that's one of the things that they always say. Well, how do we prevent this stuff before it happened? But apparently they did it right there. So like, what was the process? They caught him. They caught him loading up or what? Like,
no, I'm not totally sure, but typically people report somebody said something to somebody, and then they have like internet postings that they follow up on, and then they just come arrest you and then find the evidence.
Yeah, so a culture of snitching. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, shit. That one guy, the famous Elliot Rodgers. I think didn't he do his manifesto online, but nobody took it serious or something like that?
Probably, yeah. I think that's how it went. Yeah,
his manifesto is out there. He had a video that should have been taken seriously. So yeah, they be floating out the little signs. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But I interrupted. Somebody was talking, and I just wanted to clear that up. But go ahead.
No,
Whoever was trying.
that has something, but that's all right. Next guy up.
Hey,
All right.
actually, in a lot of these shooters or whatever, a lot of people just overlook a bunch of stuff. So like they even had that kind of ongoing thing in the 90s where it was like, oh, he was a quiet man, and actually it turned into a Kevin Bacon movie. It was like a dark comedy. But yeah, go ahead.
No, y'all was talking. I was muted, so I kind of I had to step away, so I kind of lost exactly where y'all was at, or what specifically y'all were.
Somebody asked, why do we keep electing these buffoons who support it?
Yeah, I guess my question to whoever said that is, are you where are you targeting that? Is that a targeted statement to, I guess, black people who elect the people on the left? Because I mean, put it like this: when it comes to politicians and doing stupid stuff, it's like they all eventually do something stupid. So like, what specifically do you mean?
I mean, even recently when they kicked out Lori Lightfoot, I mean, I didn't make the statement. Now they, I guess, elected or voted on a guy who's, I guess, more radical than she is. And then so it's just, and they said like, well, private independent journalist I follow, he said that like when you look through like party lines, they literally vote basically on demographics and based on neighborhoods. So that like majority of black person voted for, I guess, the new mayor or whatever, and majority of white people in the more populated areas just voted for the white politician per se in Illinois or Chicago, more particular.
Also, they're probably not doing their homework. They just saw another face.
Pretty much, yep.
What they see? They see D and just, and I'll say this: I have family who do this. They see D and just vote straight down the line. They don't even look at the names. And I made a comment a couple weeks ago that I was just considering Ron DeSantis, and I got 5 phone calls over the course of 2 days, asking me, why I would betray black people for even considering Ron DeSantis. So I think part of the issue is that we don't think about who it is we're voting for. We don't do any research into what it is they support, how it's going to impact families. Like we literally, so many people have just been trained to vote straight down the line D and won't even consider what the impact of that vote is.
But girl who was just mentioned, who got I just forgot her name that fast, that you said they replaced her with somebody who was just as radical.
Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, Lori Lightfoot. Her name slipped my mind. But here's the thing. How radical was she compared to just run of the mill Democrat that they put in that position? How radical was she really?
I don't know. She was pretty out there as far as like, on that side of the aisle. That side of the aisle, like
how? Because I mean, in my mind, I'm asking this question because in my mind, it's like they all kind of on that.
Yeah, the lockstep. They're lockstep with it, like for the most part.
So it's like, that's why that was sort of my question when I was saying, what do you mean by like if you narrow it down to just people on the left? I mean, if you think Lori Lightfoot is radical, only difference between her and anybody else is that she's probably more vocal with her shit. I would say probably that you probably hear it come out the horse's mouth a little more, but I don't see that much of a difference if you're voting that way.
But does it matter whether she was radical? Was she effective? That's the main thing, correct? Right? I call her Gordon Lightfoot, but anyway, that's my little joke. But was she effective? And the answer to that, probably no.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is effective in what sense? Like, what was her
goal? I was saying in the sense of her being radical, right? If you're radical, you could be radical and effective in your own way, or radical and ineffective. So it seems like no matter who's mayor in Chicago, they're not getting the job done.
Well, because the problem with the radical is they don't believe in governance as we understand the concept. That's the whole thing. So when they cause chaos and disruption and stuff just doesn't work properly, that's them, being effective.
And could that be because she's a woman?
No.
Really? Can you answer that fast?
No. Look, of all the things I will blame on women, Lori Lightfoot doesn't suck because she's a woman. Lori Lightfoot sucks because she's a weirdo communist, and she's a woman.
Okay.
And
Let me stop because I don't want to sound like I'm some kind of misogynistic. I just say that
I
certainly
mean, you know
positions
what show
can be
you
held
at.
by men.
She
You
would tell you all the
you're
time
on
that
my
she.
show. That's run of the mill. You ain't gotta hide from that. We Hood Service has a quote that respect my misogyny or something like that. Hey, you good.
Yes,
You're among
yes.
friends. You're among friends.
yeah, but her it's not because she's a woman. It's because she supports a whole bunch of radical, degenerate nonsense.
I mean,
And
one of the.
that's the
Oh, go
objective.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the main things that a lot of these cities are having is these DAs with the non-prosecution for the the criminal and prosecution for the regular man. It's
Yep.
just like just doing their thing.
Funded
That's a
by George
problem.
Soros. Yeah.
That destroys your society quicker than anything else.
Look. Speaking of these communist leaders in government, right? So there's a guy in New York named Alvin Bragg, and he's like the DA of like New York City. And there's a case that just happened last week, and this is crazy when you think about it. And I think the guy is black too. It just adds even more insult to it. So a guy is a security attendant in a parking garage. Some guy comes in there to rob the place. The guy has a gun. They get into a struggle. The guy shoots him twice. He takes the gun, shoots the guy, kills him, and now he's on trial for murder.
And and what's funny now is it's sprinkled so many different places in the United States. You can go to Texas and you still might have an issue if you go to the wrong county or wrong district.
Yep.
So I mean, it's a growing problem. I mean, y'all recall during was it 2016 the McCluskeys in St. Louis
Yeah.
with the protests? They were outside their own property, and one of the guns was a prop gun. The DA's office had to like pull the gun apart, reassemble it to get it to a fashion where it could fire, because they were both lawyers and they had it a prop gun as some kind of legal thing. And
I can help you out on that, but continue. Sorry.
well, they re-put the gun, they reconstituted the gun, right? And then like got caught with their hands in the cookie jar. And then we're like, oh well, it won't happen again. We're not going to recuse ourselves from the case. And then they've been like just going after like, it like the defensive shooting people that are actually like just living their life every day, and then the criminals get catch and release.
Yeah, let me speak about that, because recently I was a juror on a case like about a month ago, and one of the quote unquote evidence logs was them actually test firing the weapon to show that it actually worked. And unfortunately, with the case, it did involve a black man with a firearm. But lo and behold, that long story short, he was we found him innocent, and the charges were assault on a police officer. And it took us about 3 hours to come up with that, because it was hard, because the case was weird. But like they do that to show that, hey, this firearm actually works. But then once that's the evidence presented, it was like, well, this doesn't prove that the suspect did XYZ to the police officers per se.
Hey, you know what's so crazy now too? They have activist jurors like now. So like
Yeah.
you got to be careful, even if you take something to trial, you being an innocent man. Because yeah, go ahead.
Good thing you brought that up, because that's one of the things they did during jury selection. Because and it was the defense attorney was a black woman. Long story short, she kicked the prosecutor's ass. Long story short, but so they did like, hey, is anyone afraid of guns? Yeah, I'm afraid of guns. All right, get them out of here. Oh, do you believe, do you have any alliances for police officers? Yeah, I do. All right, get them out of here. And then even like when we came down to jury deliberation, a couple of jurors said that, hey, just by you having a gun shows intent. And I'm looking at them like, no, it doesn't. Like, just having a firearm does not show intent for, one way or the other, because the actual charge that we were charging or trialing on was assault. And what they did was assault was not, it didn't say verbal, physical, emotional. They just said the broad definition of assault. And I'm reading this, I'm just like, holy shit, this is hard. And so, but yeah, so then a couple people, they did. One woman didn't feel like she was getting her way with things, and she was like, feeling, I feel like this way, I feel that. And I looked at her, and I'm saying, okay, so based on how you feel and believe and think, regardless of the evidence, you're willing to say he's guilty and sentence a man 12 years in prison based on how you feel. And she was like, well, once you put it that way, no. I said, thank you.
Yeah, you got to use your logic and reason to kind of ridicule people. Well, I wanted to say this
real quick. Hold on, before we go there, shout out to Sir Tice for supporting the stream. I'm trying to pull it up. He said, "Told us to pick up the energy." I can't even find the super chat now. But thank you for the $2. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Do appreciate that. Another thing that I was about to say, I just dropped something on Patreon that I was supposed to have been dropped a while ago. Actually, it was a live stream that was up. Me and SKC had an interesting debate over whether SYSBM is a pro-black male organization, while they're trying to say we need to abandon blackness. I said, he is pro-black male. It got save and black in the title. So we had a debate on that. It was a good stream. That's on the Patreon now. So definitely you want to join the Patreon. I'm trying to post stuff there as much as possible. So definitely join the Patreon. Do appreciate each and every one of you that have already have. That video will be up for members as well. But it just dropped on the Patreon end. So thank you to everybody who's on the Patreon. Go ahead, whoever that was speaking. I think that was Mr. Tober.
Right.
No. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So you got people like Maj Toure, and you know, regardless of what you think about him, he's actually like in the hood, like, you know, teaching people about gun ownership, educating them, stuff like that. And I think people like that, well, at least the work like that needs to be like kind of celebrated. I believe during COVID, whatever, like black gun ownership, like gun ownership is on the rise like crazy. I want to say we're like the fastest like group of gun owners now. Like, you know, how can you phrase that? But go ahead.
I forgot the percentage, but yeah, might have been like 40% increase or something like that. But yeah.
All right. Let's see. We are closing in on the 3 hour. Actually, because I'm not going into overtime today. So we got 3 minutes left. Anybody got any last closing comments that they want to get on this topic? You have the floor. You have the mic. Make it quick. Because we about to raise up out of here. But go ahead. Whoever said that, go ahead.
That was Mr. Tolbert. And just for closing for me, it's kind of hurts my head every time I hear it. But AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for armor light. That's all.
It stands for what?
Armor light. It's the 15 variants of the armor light's design of that actual rifle. If that makes sense.
Oh, no, hey, this is new information for me. All right, anybody else? Last call.
My part and thoughts there. I did put a proposal together. Actually, I sent it to a couple of senators, but I sent it to the wrong ones. I got to send it to conservative senators. I just want to. I'm 64 years old. I've never sent anything to any politician ever before. I just said, you know what? I'm tired of listening to you guys just talk shit, man. What's the solution? What's a solution? Just do something other than what you're doing right now. But so I'm laughing at myself thinking about who I sent this shit to. Maybe now I'm on the shit list. But I got to find a favorite Republican somewhere that I want to send it to, because I know they'd probably be more in tune with what I have to say than a Democrat would be.
Oh, man, salute for actually doing something. Salute.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah, I really appreciate the people that come and have the conversation.
Hey, can I say one more thing? But let me just say one thing. And I hate to say this, and it's up to you, Bernard, for me to even put it out there. Because I do have it available on my channel. So what I put in the proposal.
Cool.
Marriage, politics, and sport.
Your channel was that marriage, What is it called?
Politics and sports. You can get there from there. Yep.
Yeah, marriage, politics, and sports. Okay, cool. Yep. All right. Anybody else? We got 1 minute and 7 seconds. 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Yeah, Bernard. So like you know, in these debates, a lot of people will move based on feelings or, you know, the current level of knowledge without even really doing like a ton of research. So I live in the state of Tennessee. I'm in Tennessee right now. I'm not too far away from Nashville, as a matter of fact. And one thing that the state of Tennessee did was they had a sales tax holiday on gun safes. So for people that want their guns to be, you know, safe and have this kind of inclusive culture, that's an incentive to like go in that direction too. So, and then people like Colin Noir, regardless of his previous affiliation with the NRA, is like, you know, a wealth of knowledge on even some history sometimes. But yeah, go ahead.
All right, we're about to wrap this thing on up. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and participating in the stream in any way, shape, or form. Once again, shout out to everybody who's a patron. I see E. Taylor just said in the chat, about time you put stuff on Patreon. Yeah, I've been fairly consistent. Getting stuff on the Patreon. Been fairly consistent getting stuff on the Patreon. Whenever I grow my Patreon a little bit, it goes right back down because I quit putting stuff on there. So I'm gonna try to stay fairly consistent putting stuff on the Patreon. So shout out to all the patrons. Shout out to everybody who supports the stream in any way, shape, or form. Appreciate each and every one of you. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace. We gone.